Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, stop offering me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's new.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me show, otherwise known as The Dumb Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The Dumb Show on social media or thedumbshow.com.
Purcellville Flag Company makes wooden flags here in the United States of America. They are amazing. They are beautiful. You will see them behind Olivia and I tonight. Please stop by pfcflags.com. Brought to you by a very, very cool flag maker. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Olivia's in the house right now. It's almost like that music should be meant for Leroy, since he is wearing his Dago cap, his Chicago-style gangster, very well lit, too well lit, very ghostly looking, way too bright. Leroy is in the house.
There you go. Sorry. There I is.
There he is. That's much better. Not as washed out and looking like a warmed up corpse. It's okay. It's my
I've
anal.
been accused of worse.
Yeah, it's my anal retentiveness. Folks, tonight on the Don't Unfriend Me show, we've got a long list to go over. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
All of it legal. All of it legal.
What's legal? What?
Everything that you're going to see tonight, all of it's legal, folks.
Well, it should. We hope it is. You're coming in a little bit. Give me a quick sound check, Leroy, please.
Check 1 2.
Yeah, you want to keep that mic closer to your mouth. That was what was going on. It was just a little too far away. Folks, here's what we're talking about tonight. We have a plethora of good stuff. New logo with Olivia, Leroy, and Amy. Figured we would give them a little pizzazz in the bottom right corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Tonight we are talking. What's that?
Except for you. You put me in the corner. You put me in the corner.
Well, they're all three in the. It's not really a corner. I'm in the corner too. So, really, you're central to. It doesn't matter. You're in the corner. Tonight, we're talking about the Biden Quid Pro Quo audio release. Now, some of you have heard a little bit of this. Some of you have seen, obviously, the television overall summit where he was sitting with 4 others, and he ultimately outed himself. And some of you may have read the transcript, but I think a lot of this audio was unheard by most people. Or have not had a chance to listen to it. We're going to talk about it tonight. I released the show earlier today, and you may have had a chance to look at it. Left calls Elon Musk anti-Semitic for going after George Soros. It's amazing how the left defends the Jews when it's convenient for them, but any other time it's let's go after anybody who is not Palestinian or anything other than Jewish. 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate has gone missing from a California train. Just to give you some perspective, 4,508 pounds was used in the Timothy McVeigh, Oklahoma City bombing that roughly took 2/3 of the building and turned it into ash. Injuring 600 some odd, I believe, and I think killing close to 200 some odd people. Might want to be a little bit of a concern. Christians are now the Taliban, according to Joy Reid, and we'll go into that as well. It is good No, it's not Good Friday. It's Red Friday. Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed. We're all wearing our Red Friday shirts. Olivia's got We the People. It's close enough. It's red. That's right. It's Red Friday.
It's Red Friday.
That's correct.
RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to dumbshow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
I guess we didn't do the video.
That's my jam.
I guess, wait, what the fraggity frag is going on? Where is the Red Friday? No, that's not it.
Hi, I'm Hayden. I'm
Oh,
Savannah.
that's Hayden's commercial.
I'm
Look at that. We got all sorts of stuff.
And we
Yeah.
are...
All right, shut up, kids. Seriously. Where's the Red Friday video, Olivia? Don't you have that on your? You have the audio, but do you have the video? Try the video. Push the button. See what happens.
I think I only have the audio.
Turn that off. That ain't it. That ain't it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think you ever gave me the video. Just the audio.
Well, I had it. I mean, and that's what we should be playing the first time. Then we can do. I mean, we don't have to do that all the time. I think that would get annoying. It was annoying last week.
Yeah, we did it a lot last week.
I want to play the video each time because the videos, I mean, it's kind of cool. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Olivia, how you
Red.
doing?
I'm good, Leroy. How are you doing?
Good. I am all right.
Well, I can't find the damn video. Damn. Hold on, maybe it's here. Nope, not
Damn
here.
it, Jim.
I don't know what happened to it. I mean, it was a good video. It was a good video at last. Let me just check one more time.
Damn it, Jim. I'm a co-host, not a file cabinet.
Well, oh, I know where it's at. Hold on. We'd have to do this. Whoosh, whoosh, and whoosh. No, son of a bitch. Come on. There, that's much better.
It's Red Friday. RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to dumbshow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
Outstanding. Folks, don't ever write down what I say in this show and repeat it. I have carte blanche to do that where I won't get nailed because it's a video and it's a show. When you type it, you're putting yourself in danger of getting a strike. So when I said Christians are the new blah, blah, blah with a question mark, the reason why I don't get hit is because there's a question mark. I'm asking a question. You're typing it. You're making a statement. So Glenn just got a strike. You guys, I would never recommend anything in this show. Repeat anything that any of us say without censoring yourself. You're going to get strikes. You can't. When you type it, anyone can see it and they can't walk away from it. When it's on a video, they can choose not to watch this video based upon the context that this show is about. So I have different rules. So if you're getting hit, you got to be careful.
Yeah. You know what? It's a lot like when you have to call into customer service, right? Just imagine that like Facebook is customer service, and every time you call in, you know that you're going to get that person on the phone, right? Who just doesn't want to help, or they see something like mildly like, yeah, we're not going to help you today. And so you record everything. You go out of your way to record your conversation with customer service, right? That's exactly what's going on here, except that it's in type. When you type it down, it can be used against you later, and it will be. So be careful, folks.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. And the best way that here's the basic rules of Facebook. Don't make any violent threats. Where if you would say, for instance, damn the torpedoes, or launch the cannons at Leroy, that is a threat. I hope a meteor hits blank. That's a threat. I hope a flying yellow pink pig falls on blank. That's a threat. And you're like, wait a second, that's ridiculous. There's no such, it doesn't matter.
We know.
They consider it a threat. So you can't do that. You cannot talk about murder and death or suicide when it comes to another person and use their name. Like, I really hope you blank yourself. You're going to get banned. The last thing is you cannot make any comments, large comments about groups of people. So you can't say transgenders are blank. Catholics are blank. Like Glenn just got hit for saying Christians are blankerists, and he got nailed for it. So those are the three basic rules I've learned. You can't bully and call people name. You can't threaten. And I have not had a strike in over a year. And I put the most controversial shit out there. So you got to be really careful. Okay. So add a question mark or just censor it with an exclamation point. Or if you're going to want to cuss at somebody, F ampersand CK, right? Just be careful because nobody wants to get banned. Okay. That's the real message here.
Glenn actually has a quick question. He says, but we can say F Leroy. Well, you know what? I mean, when you have one of the hosts of the show basically saying, yeah, go ahead, bring it, say that kind of stuff. You know,
but F Leroy it's not bullying.
Yeah.
Bullying is when you say F Leroy because he's FAT.
Really? I figured saying that would be bullying.
They don't care about FU and asshole and dick. I can't say any of that. If I say one of those, I will be banned immediately. I will get a 7-day suspension because I'm a public figure. But y'all can say F Leroy, all that. But here's the thing. You know, even if we're kidding, it's okay to say F Leroy. That's fine. But if you say FUCK Leroy, you're putting yourself in a situation where someone could report you and then you get nailed for bullying. Just be smart, folks. Just understand. Yeah. Treat everything like your mom was in the room. Treat like your mom's watching. Okay. All right. We know it's loving Leroy, but Facebook doesn't know that. Right. And if you expect Facebook to add emotional or logic to anything, trust me when I say they won't. Okay. All right. Glad we all agree. Let's get to it. We've got a busy show. We have quite a few people on already, which is a good sign. I think the Joe Biden video is drawing a little bit of attention, which it should. We've got quite a few things to talk about. Remember, Red Friday, you can go on over to thedumbshow.com, like, follow, share, and subscribe. If you would on this, please like this, spam it. If you come on into the room and you only stay for a minute, just give it a like. Anytime you do that, it helps the show, it helps our exposure, and it gets it out to more people. And if you share right now, it will also do the same. I want to just mention one last thing. The Dumb Nation group is on Facebook. It's $1.99 a month. That gets you 15% off all merchandise. Exclusive videos. I'll give you a follow if you just let me know and say, hey, follow me, and I'll make sure I follow you. And we're going to be expanding that into the Twitterverse shortly. Twitter's groups are much more effective. We can have something I want to add also, which is a Skype call, bring everybody in and have cameras on, and we can all kind of shoot the shit and talk. Those type of things we're going to start moving. So, all right, that's pretty much it. Remember, PFC flags, folks, and let's get started. So tonight there was a video that we all have seen and I've played before, and it's one of Joe Biden doing what Joe Biden does. May I ask your name? What?
It's somebody on YouTube. Is not me. So that's what their name is. So I'm asking if they've got what their name is.
Their name's not me.
Well,
that works. All right. So everyone's seen the video.
Geez, worded it though. It's so proper. Like, might I ask your name?
Might I ask your name? Yeah. Might I have a little tea and crumpet, please? So everyone has seen this video. There was a Council on Foreign Relations discussion. I think it was January. Yeah, it's right there. January 23rd, 2018. And Vice President Joe Biden, he spoke about really a quid pro quo situation with the president of Ukraine and a prosecutor. Now, everybody knows about this. Janet says, I ordered a shirt tonight. How long does it take to receive? Honestly, Printful, I've already submitted the order to Printful. They will, since it's the weekend, they will have it printed by Monday. It should ship on Tuesday, and then you get it 2 to 3 days. So you should have it by Thursday or Friday of next week, if not earlier. People say that the shirts scream and get here fast. Why did you change the Dago hat, or did you? Did you put on a new hat? No, okay. It looked like a ball cap for a second when you were turned to the side.
It is a ball
cap. It's not a Dago hat?
No.
Oh, well, it looked like a Dago hat. I'm telling you, it looks like a Dago. The back is very low. Whatever. All right, fine. So anyway, just a few days. Coffee takes a little bit of time because it's freshly brewed just for you and ground and all that other stuff. All right. So this video is a point of contention for a lot of people for a couple of reasons. One is because Donald Trump, with the exact same country and the exact same person, was impeached because of this conversation that he had. And here is Joe Biden, in my opinion, having, like, with Donald Trump, there was no money. There was no conversation or talk of money. It was talking about aid and it was talking about defense. And these are behaviors almost like they set Donald Trump up. And this is now me going down the rabbit hole and saying, if Joe Biden, well, let me make this point when we hear it, because I'm going to show you some things. You're going to be like, what the fuck? This was absolutely, Donald Trump was set up by the Biden administration, because there's things inside here that will show you and tell you that if you put two and two together. Olivia, have you had a chance to hear it?
Yeah, I listened today on the way
Leroy?
home.
I caught a little bit of it, yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to catch all of it now. So let's get this started. Let's listen to it. Some of you have heard some of this. Now, real quick, the newspapers, when this came out in 2020, Trump released this. It was supposedly released by a Russian spy, a disinformation spy. This is what everyone's saying. And they're like, this is doctored. So the people that told you the vaccination was helpful, the people that told you that Russian collusion was real, the people that told you that the dirty dossier, which was paid for by a spy, the people who told you that the 2016 election was stolen, the people that have told you, the people that have told you, the people that have told you are telling you that this is fake. It's been fact checked. Facebook has not hit me on it yet. I don't think they want to, but they may. If it gets big enough, I'll tell you they're suppressing it. It's only got 56 likes. So please, if you have not had a chance, go out on Facebook and push that video, because it's important for people to hear. But they've already said that this is fake. This was not on the news. You heard it a little bit on Fox, a couple stations, but this has not been in any way, shape, or form distributed the way it should have been. Republicans should be all over this. Republicans should be putting Biden on absolute trial for this. But guess what? They're not. Let's get to watching it, and then we can talk throughout. Here we go. What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show is going to be a little bit different today. I'm not going to do a full segment. I am going to show you 17 minutes of recordings. The first minute and a half is Joe Biden openly admitting that he blackmailed the Ukrainian president and held $1 billion in aid and funds for defense unless he fired a special prosecutor. Well, everyone kind of said that was tongue in cheek and no big deal, and Joe being Joe. Well, I also have 6 recordings with the Ukrainian president, Joe Biden, and a portion of John Kerry, redacted considerably, but you hear multiple times them strong-arming the president of Ukraine in order to fire the special prosecutor who is investigating Hunter Biden, and the president of Ukraine also stating that the special prosecutor was not corrupt and they found absolutely no reason to fire him, but did it anyway because Joe Biden and Barack Obama asked him to. Folks, this is pretty powerful. You may not have heard this. Most people have not. I, for one, saw a transcript, but I had never heard the recordings. I'm bringing it to you. Tonight, we'll talk about it at 8 o'clock at The Dumb Show. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, YouTube. We're there 8 o'clock tonight Eastern. Come see us. We will give some commentary. I will break it all down for you. But for now, share this, get this out, and go ahead and watch and let me know your thoughts below. I will be back at 8 o'clock tonight. I will see you then.
I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
That's nothing compared to what you're about to hear. This was suppressed on all social media channels. This was blacklisted from Facebook. The media released just a swath article across all media stations, Democratic media stations, that this was Russian disinformation. Now, you can't yes, there's programs that AI that can make people's voices and stuff. That's not what they're saying. Nobody has said that this was fabricated. They're saying they spliced certain calls and went ahead and put them together. Well, explain to me, first of all, where did they get the calls? Where did they get the calls? And if there is, then there's a counterintelligence failure, number one. Number two, it's either on the front end or the terminal end of the call, which means that it's either happening in Joe Biden's call or it's happening at the end of the Ukraine line call, because every single one of those phones are sat scrambled. Leroy and I use these phones for years. These phones, you go in and they are scrambler phones. They are megabytes of encryption. The ones that we used to use when we first started getting the Intel were 128 megabytes of encryption. These now are up in terabytes worth of encryption. They are uncrackable. They are completely scrambled. The president has multiple fail-safes in line to stop any type of interception of phone calls. Okay. And if they have that, they're not going to release it based on a blackmailing scheme from Biden and give up the fact that they've cracked our codes, right? Because it's much more useful to listen and continue listening and keeping that intelligence lane open. Okay. So the fact that, okay, even if they somehow manufactured Poroshenko's voice, it doesn't stop what Joe Biden says. It doesn't stop what Kerry says. It doesn't stop the continuation of blackmail and quid pro quo and strong arming Poroshenko to fire the prosecutor. So here it is in its entirety. These are sat scrambled calls. Some of these are done on Air Force One. Some of these are done in undisclosed locations. And the audio is never going to be perfect, but you can definitely hear all players involved and who they are. Here it is.
The Situation Room.
Hello.
Joe Biden. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Your call has been convened.
Petro, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
I can hear you better too. I'm sorry.
No problem.
You were saying, I missed what you were saying.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm very happy to hear you. Second, this is very valuable for me that you find out a time for me even in Minnesota. And I'm dreaming some days to be with you in Minnesota.
That's easy, man. I tell you what, I'd like to be with you instead of Minnesota right now, but go ahead.
The third, I have some positive and negative news. I will start with the positive news.
Well, good.
Joe, I have a second positive news for you. Yesterday, I met with the General Prosecutor Shokin.
So Prosecutor Shokin is the person who is accused of opening up an investigation into Hunter Biden. Now, the media will tell you, oh, he wasn't opening an investigation into Hunter Biden. Well, wait a second. He was opening up an investigation into Burisma. He was opening up an investigation into the company that Hunter Biden was an executive leader for. And most assuredly, the accusations of the money laundering and other things that were taking place inside this company, Hunter Biden was involved in. So I want you to think of the absolute coincidence that a special prosecutor over in Ukraine, who they're giving billions of dollars to annually,
Right.
all of a sudden has the vice president's son working on the board with no experience whatsoever to do so, has no, listen, I worked to get an executive vice president position 25 years in retail in order to qualify. And even I couldn't get into retail as a VP. I had some of the most success across 3 amazing companies. And without schooling, I couldn't get a VP with corporations. It took me to go out to a mom and pop company to get my VP title. So to sit here and say, okay, fine, it's nepotism and he greased the wheels for his son, that's fine. That's unethical to begin with. But to assume that Biden didn't interfere here, especially after hearing these tapes, is ridiculous. Finish it up.
Yes.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign.
So with absolutely no evidence of corruption or any wrongdoing, they forced Shokin to resign. I want to make sure I go ahead and repeat that because Joe Biden just a second ago said that he was corrupt. So what he's saying is Poroshenko says, well, because there was no corruption, he did nothing wrong, we did it anyway. And the reason why we did it is because you're going to hear right here.
As his position as a state person, and despite of the fact that he has a support in the parliament, and as a finish of my meeting with him, he promised me to give me the statement on resignation. And 1 hour ago, he bring me the written statement of his resignation.
I want you to know that I have put this through audio. I've put it through Premiere. There are a couple of abrupt cuts, and the abrupt cuts are not from a splicing. There's no dead audio. It's ultimately from the scrambler or dropping signal because these are overseas calls. And anybody who's had an overseas call on a scrambler knows that these conversations sound exactly like this. They don't necessarily sound the clearest and perfect if you're on a plane, whatever. But I want you to hear Biden actually says something here, like a preemptive yes, which shows that it starts the sentence and ends the sentence with no cut, and Biden is contributing in the conversation. So don't sit here and tell me that this is fake. Listen.
1 hour ago, he bring me the...
We hear it right there. He goes, ah.
And despite of the fact that he has a support in the parliament.
Right here.
And as a finish of my meeting with him,
right here,
he promised me to give me the statement on resignation. And 1 hour ago, he bring me...
Do you hear it? 1 hour ago.
Written...
One more time.
He bring me...
Okay, here it is.
And 1 hour ago, he bring me the written...
and then he does the same thing after the end of this.
Of his resignation.
Great.
And this is my second step for keeping my promises.
This is my second step for keeping my promises. So you give me $1 billion. You make sure I have the aid that was promised me as long as I do the following things that you're telling me to do. Joe Biden says, I want you to blank. I want you to fire this prosecutor. And I want you to blank. Steps. What are those steps? What's the first step? What did he do? Nobody's asking the question. But you hear Poroshenko lay out the quid pro quo clearly and say, I'm following your orders, so you pay me the money. There's no assumption in what I'm saying. I'm not telling you what the first step was. I'm not telling you if there was a third step. I'm telling you most assuredly there were 2 steps, and Poroshenko had to follow both of them in order to get this, because listen, here is Biden's answer.
I agree.
Poroshenko?
Yes.
1 moment for Vice President Biden. Greeting President Poroshenko.
Hey, Mr. President Joe Biden, how are you?
Very well indeed. All the time when I hear your voice, it's a great pleasure for me.
Well, I'm on Air Force 2, and I think we're going to stay connected. We just took off, and I'm hoping this connection will stay open. Assuming that there is a new government and a new prosecutor general, I am prepared to do a public signing of the commitment for the $1 billion. Again, I'm not suggesting that.
That is in Biden's own words. Don't tell me that shit was cut. That is Biden in a solid statement with no audio breakup, with nothing whatsoever. The ambient noise in the background stays the same. The clips don't change. Folks, if I move my voice 1 inch when I'm recording outside, you know that I got up, went and grabbed some coffee and came back, because when I come back, it sounds slightly different because I'm not in the exact same position. Audio doesn't work this way. I have filtered tens of thousands of hours of video now that I've done this show and working in marketing. And I'm telling you, there are pieces where there are abrupt breaks, and I can't tell if it is or isn't. What I can tell you most assuredly is Biden just said right there, new prosecutor, new government. Now I'm going to go ahead and move forward with a public signing for the commitment of $1 billion. Those are Joe Biden's words.
That's what you want or don't want. I'm just suggesting.
Now, here is a caveat cover-up statement. Leroy, I don't know what you've heard and haven't heard, but Biden, what he does is he covers his ass right here and saying, oh, well, I'm not assuming that this is what you want. I'm just letting you know what will happen. That's a way for him to get out of quid pro quo. That is a cover thy ass statement. Listen.
Suggesting that that's what you want or don't want. I'm just suggesting that that's what we're prepared to do. And again, it wouldn't be finalized until, the IMF pieces are written.
Extremely strong motivation. One of the possible candidates was leader of my faction, Lutsenko, who is the public figure. If you think that the political motivated figure would be not very good from your point of view, I recall this proposal. I do not propose, because nobody knows that I want to propose Lutsenko. In this situation, I take all the political motivated figures out from this process.
Political motivated figures, you might assume in a country like Ukraine, might be people who want to absolve the government or want to have a coup d'etat or want to instill a certain type of ideology outside the party lines. What this is politically motivated means people who are going to investigate Joe Biden's son. If you think it means anything else, then you're absolutely whacked. Because the next thing you're going to hear will show you that it proves that when he talks about Donald Trump.
All right, well, look, let me when you and I finish speaking, let me huddle with my team, talk over what you and I just talked about. I agree with you. There is a sense of urgency here.
So here it is, real simple. He just confirmed that the political figure is about the United States and any investigations of corruption from Burisma or Hunter Biden involvement. Why? Well, because he said, let me go talk to my team. Unless they're installing governments, which we know the CIA did in Ukraine, and now they're going after the federal prosecutors and going after the law and order and the judges and the magistrates inside the country. If you think that, that's fine. But even that is also quid pro quo. Because you're saying you must change your government or you're not getting $1 billion. That's quid pro quo, folks, no matter if it's in the best interest for the United States or not.
Hey, Mr. President Joe Biden, how are you?
Very well indeed. As usual when I hear your voice. Thank you very much.
Well, you are doing very well. Congratulations on getting the new prosecutor general. I know there's a lot more that has to be done, but I really think that's good, and I understand you're working with the rod in the coming days on a number of additional laws to secure the IMF. So, but congratulations on installing the new prosecutor general. It's going to be critical for him to work quickly to repair the damage Shokin did.
To repair the damage Shokin did, even though the president of Ukraine said there was no corruption, He didn't break any rules and he didn't do anything wrong, but I fired him anyway. Critical for him to work quickly to repair the damage Shokin did. Then what damage did he do? What damage did Shokin do? If the president of Ukraine says we couldn't find anything on him to fire him legitimately, so we asked for his resignation, what damage could he have done unless it was in regards to political damage in the United States based on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden? Someone tell me, because I don't know.
I'm a man of my word. And that now that the new prosecutor general's in place, we're ready to move forward in signing that new $1 billion loan guarantee.
God, the fucking media, man. Are you fucking kidding me? How does this get fact checked as fake? He just said it. He just said, fire the prosecutor and I'll give you $1 billion. He just confirmed it. This frustrates me beyond reproach. I can't even tell you how fucking pissed I am. We're going to go on to this. I know everybody has something to say about it, but let's work through the rest of this. This isn't even the worst. Just wait. It gets worse.
And I don't know how you want to go about that. I'm not going to be able to get to Kyiv anytime soon, meaning the next month or so. And I don't know whether you could either sign it with our ambassador, or if you came here, we could sign it, or if you want, we're inviting Groisman here later. I'm going to be talking to him later this morning.
Folks, please share this. Get this out. We got 135 people on a Friday night. People are interested. They need to hear this shit. And I understand it's like banging our head against the wall. We should be talking to 7, 8, 10,000 people a night based on our followership numbers. We understand this is going to continue to be the fight that we have to do. But if you don't share, if you don't become an advocate for the show, I promise you it will never grow. You have got to get people in here. You have got to bring your friends in. If we're ever going to make this thing move forward, we have got to fight the algorithm that Facebook's pushing on us. You know damn well they don't want this out there. Nobody wants this out there. This is on Rumble. This is on Twitter. How are we doing on the other sites?
Rumble's at 9 and YouTube's at 10.
It's crazy. Crazy. Here we go.
Not for that purpose. We're inviting him to Washington. And so I'll leave it up to you as to how you want that done and when you want it done.
First of all, thank you very much indeed for these words of support. Believe me that it was a very tough challenge and very difficult job, and Mrs. Timoshenko and Mr. Leshko faction tried to break this, because we not only voted for the new prosecutor general, which we do in a very short period of time. Within one day we changed the law. By the way, in this law we presenting the new structure of the General Prosecutor Office, including the General Inspection, as we agreed with
that's real.
And the second,
there's your first step. The first step is to change the law and rules of what the prosecuting general can look into and what he oversees.
Yeah, agreed.
There's your first step. Listen to it again. Dude, there is so much here that it's, oh.
By the way, in this law we presenting the new structure of the General Prosecutor Office, including the General Inspection, as we agreed with.
That's real.
And the second thing
so that's been cut. Where you hear Joe, oh yeah, yes, that's what? That's what?
Invite Lutsenko and said that he should contact your embassy, and I would be very pleased if you will have a certain person who can come either from Washington or whenever. We have here, I don't remember his name, the Ukrainian origin American prosecutor. He is a little bit old. I sent to the Jeffrey his name, and he was ready to come and to be assistant and advisor.
So this was done in 2016 before the turnover of Donald Trump. He's going to mention Donald Trump here. He even mentions, well, we don't want Donald Trump cutting your funding. So we're going to do this, and this, so that doesn't happen. Folks, this is so fucking corrupt. And Donald Trump got baited hook, line, and sinker. This was a trap left for Donald Trump, and I'll show you why.
With a very good experience in the American system, and he can be the person of trust with the new prosecution system. I think this is exactly the right time to do that, and if he's still ready to come and to cooperate from the very first step, from the very first...
Absolutely, this was recorded by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian is being recorded by a digital recorder, and then they're pumping in the audio from the other phone. I can do it too. The terminal end is going to be more fragmented, which is they're pumping the audio from Air Force 2 from Biden. So this is the Ukrainians. Now, Ukrainians said Russia released this, but we understand that also Ukrainians have disinformation. Just think about some of the things we've heard from the ghost of Muir or the ghost of Kiev, right? Come on. The ghost of Kiev who shot down 22 MiGs, from Skull Island where they said that those people were dead and I fell for that too. And then all of a sudden they're alive. How they've killed, 80,000 or 280,000 Russian soldiers. Folks, I'm not a supporter of Russia. Fuck Russia. Fuck the Ukraine too. I don't have to like either of them. But this, it's not even bad yet. Just wait. It gets worse.
Minute of the new prosecutor, that is exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, let me get in contact with the Justice Department and pursue that. I'll get his name and let me find out where that is, because it is in our interest, obviously, to provide professional assistance as quick as we can so this gets up and started in the right direction. So I will move on that as soon as we hang up. I'll put that in train and I'll get back to you as to what I'm able to do.
Absolutely.
I will put that in train, short for I will put it into motion. So because you did this, I will do this. That is quid pro quo.
The second thing, thank you very much indeed. This is exactly what I'm looking for. The second thing is that I want to thank you that you give me your word that immediately when we change the legislation and the point, then you...
Oh, this is a big one.
I want to thank you that you give me your word that immediately when we change the legislation and I appoint the new Prosecutor General, and it would be Yuri Lutsenko as we agreed on our previous meeting in Washington, and when it happened, we can have this loan guarantee, and thank you very much.
I don't care how you splice that, how you fucking cut that. You have the president of Ukraine saying it individually. You have Biden saying it individually. You can splice it. You can dice it. You can cut it. You can put a fucking hat on it and lipstick on it and call it a pig, but they both said it. And just alone, there's a sign of impropriety and there should be an investigation. There should be a full-fledged Senate investigation and a special prosecutor assigned, and there should be articles of impeachment written and fucking filed immediately, posthumously, to remove him as vice president and disqualify him as current sitting president as a conflict of interest, since he has a relationship with Ukraine now, and we are sending them $150 fucking billion. And that's still not the worst. We're not done yet.
I just wanted to try to urge you to see.
This is John frickin' Vietnam ferry boat, swift boat Kerry. Biggest pretentious douche ever. Kerry decides to get in, and he also blackmails Poroshenko. And I want you to listen what he says here.
I don't hear anything.
Before Vice President Biden comes, I just wanted to try to urge you to see if there's a way to get by this problem of replacing the Prosecutor General, Shokin.
So this is, okay, so the series of calls. The first one is a direct thank you for doing it. The second call is a this is what we're requesting. Third call is, oh, well, if I do this, do I get this? And the fourth call is continued urging to make the first calls take place. So now Kerry's coming in and leaning into Poroshenko to get him to do this.
I get it. I get it. I can feel your blood pressure. I get it.
Dude, I just wanted to try to implore you to remove the special prosecutor and let's get this done. Let's find a way to do this.
To see if there's a way to get by this problem of replacing the prosecutor general, Shokin, because from our perception, he's blocked the cleanup of the prosecutor general's office, and I know the vice president is very concerned about it, and I think it'd be good to try to have some resolution of that before the vice president comes, if it's possible, and have real clarity as to the steps that we're going to take forward. I think his visit and his speech to the Rada are a good opportunity to showcase your successes as we continue forward.
So now you got John Kerry doing it. And now they're glad stroking this guy, saying, hey, we want to demonstrate how good of a job you're doing. Man, I'm sorry, but they are using this guy as a fucking puppet. They're using this country, and now they've propped it up as the freedom and democracy battle. You know what? Sometimes you got to think, you wonder, with all the corruption and bullshit, Kerry, Clapper, Brennan, all the alphabet agencies who were involved in this, all of them who replaced the government of Ukraine, how much money was made, and how do we know that Zelensky, when Russia was going to invade, didn't say, either you back us up or we're dropping everything we've got on the United States? You don't think, because I am baffled at how we have invested $150 billion, 3 years worth of the entire Afghan war, and literally less than a year into Ukraine. Why? Well, it's simple to say, well, we don't want him to go into Poland. Well, why didn't he go into Poland a long time ago? Why now? What is it about now that's taking place? Go ahead, Leroy.
Yeah, and it doesn't take that much money.
At all.
You could have spent 1/10 that and still have provided Ukraine with the appropriate amount of resources to fend off an angry Russian neighbor.
Correct.
And I doubt that any other general prosecutor can do that, but we provide absolutely transparent procedure for the selection commission, and the procedure was widely accepted both inside the country, including my opponents, all the NGO, all
non-government
the
officials,
parliamentary forces. They widely accepted as an absolutely transparent and effective situation. And as I promised, the very next day, before the 1st of December, exactly as I promised to Vice President Biden, this person who was selected by the Selection Commission as appointed. Now, all of us should understand that the Prosecutor General Office has no any opportunity under the law to make any cases against corruption, because it immediately goes already from the 1st of December, the day before yesterday, to the new Anti-Corruption Bureau and the new Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office. And I was very proud that Jean-Claude Juncker, Angela Merkel, François Hollande, and everybody welcome it as a very strong position of...
Guess who has oversight powers on the anti-corruption investigatory body? Anybody want to guess? Poroshenko. Poroshenko. It's considered a law, just like the FBI, it's considered a law enforcement agency at this point. So it goes under his purview, under executive powers. So what that says, right?
So crooked.
So they fucking changed the rules. So what do they care about anti-corruption? What do they care? Why would they take, if corruption is what's happening in Ukraine and destroying Ukraine, why would they limit the power of the prosecutors to try corruption? Right. Why would they? Why wouldn't they allow to create an agency that looks after corruption, but continue prosecuting and trying these cases Why not? If it's that bad, go ahead, Leroy.
I was just going to say that, laws and law enforcement in Ukraine is not like it is here.
No, not at all.
It's not like what it is in the United States. Okay. Which is why, a morally questionable person with an appropriate amount of leverage can manipulate a system over there and figure out how to make a buck.
That's right.
What all that means is that by changing the laws and the ability to move those goalposts overseas, pushing someone to move those goalposts, is how the left turns a power vacuum into a paycheck.
Dude, you have somebody changing the way government works with US dollars and altering it for covering up corruption that was instigated by the vice president of the United States and his family. Tell me it could be anything else. Help me understand why Joe Biden would care. There is no reason. Why would anyone in the United States care about special prosecution going after corruption in Ukraine unless you were involved in corruption in Ukraine?
That would be like Matt or myself saying all of a sudden that we care who the prosecutor is in Macedonia for just random.
Why?
Like,
why do you give a shit? Because they're going to join the UN? No,
not unless you've got a pony in the race.
John Kerry stuck them on the back burner for 10 years on the UN and said, you have to take care of your corruption. You have to balance your budget. You have to stop funding the Azov Brigade and other brigades that are making you guys look bad. He put them on the back burner for 10 years. They're not trying to get them into the UN. And you certainly don't stop with the main prosecutor who's going after corruption, who's done nothing wrong, who Poroshenko said he's done nothing wrong. I can't get him for anything illegal because he hasn't done anything illegal. So I forced him to resign instead because you told me I'll get $1 billion if I do it. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not even done yet. Just wait till they get to the Trump part and I will explain to you why Trump did what he did. It never made sense to me why Trump did that. Now we know. You want to know why? We'll do it in a minute.
Anti-corruption prosecutor and general prosecutor office. For the prosecutor position and for Inspector General, I am also proud that exactly as we agreed with your Minister of Justice guy and your embassy, the Office of Inspector General is already established. It is coordinated not by General Prosecutor, but the Deputy of General Prosecutor, Mr. Sakvarididze, exactly as we agreed with the Vice President and with the Ambassador. For the other continuation with the Prosecutor General Shokin and other things, I think I will speak with the Vice President Biden, and I doubt that it would be theoretically even possible to make any decision without any arguments before.
Vice President's going to take up with you and we'll have a more detailed discussion about it.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
President, just 1 minute for Vice President Biden.
Thank you.
Here's clip number 5.
Introducing President Poroshenko.
So I want to explain. People are like, Matt, where did you get this? Where did you get this? So I know this isn't the first time the U.S. government has done this. Leroy and I have worked for the U.S. government and done things similar to this in a much smaller scale. That's not what I'm saying. The point is that what's happening here is not sanctioned. This is a personal choice using taxpayer dollars, bribing government officials to lay off investigations that could implicitly demonstrate that Joe Biden was corrupt, and he covered his ass to ensure that when Donald Trump came in, he would not find it. And based on conversations that Giuliani, that Pompeo, and Trump had with Poroshenko and other members of the government identified what Joe Biden was doing, then went ahead and told him, we want the evidence of this corruption. And then what happened? They fucking released the tapes that Donald Trump was doing quid pro quo, and hung him with it, knowing all along that if Russian collusion and the piss tapes and everything else didn't work, that they had him for quid pro quo, and they laid a trap for Donald Trump. I never understood. Oh, dude, I knew I was going to get somebody. This is called diplomacy. Oh, Michael, seriously, you guys impeached Trump over diplomacy. See, you're so full of shit. You guys you call into the show, bro. Give this jack off the number. Here you go. There you go, buddy.
You got it.
Call in. So I'm gonna read off Michael's stuff.
Yeah, because we can't see
Says
it.
this is called diplomacy. The people which Trumplicate. You've already lost your argument. You're already doing a petulant insult. Right. The people which Trumplicate are too stupid to understand this footage hasn't been leaked. The footage is public information. No, it's not. No, this was all leaked. In fact, the United States government went ahead and disavowed its original composition and quality. So all you're doing is making stuff up. See, buddy, the funny thing is that you get to stand around here. Hey, Liv, can I have my power cord for Apple? It's in the iPad. You get to sit here and make stuff up, and I already know your credibility is zero. You know nothing of what you're talking about. The government has not disavowed. They said this was actually a Russian spy who falsified and took audio clips and mixed them up. Ukraine has said that this isn't real. So what you're saying is that this was public policy and released by the Biden government because it's on the up and up. And I already know you're full of shit because I can show you 3 White House statements. I can show you the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Dallas County Star that have all said this is fake and is Russian disinformation. So you already, as you pull your head out of your frickin' rectum, you don't know what you're talking about, kid. So before you start slinging Trumplican and all this other bullshit, why don't you go ahead and do a little research and actually get just as upset at Biden as you are with Trump because it's just good diplomacy. Go ahead, Leroy.
I was just going to say, what he's doing is making the classic assumption that because we want accountability over billions and billions of dollars, which went to a foreign entity, for a quid pro quo type scenarios, what this phone call is actual evidence of, right? And then to fire back to he's confusing that with, oh my God, you guys are Trumplicans. Okay. The idea that we want accountability for that does not mean that we automatically love Trump.
No.
And I can tell you right now that there are at least 100 dummies that are watching that will tell you that I am not his fan.
No.
I don't like the guy, but that doesn't matter. That's not what this is about. This is about, was there a quid pro quo, and did the current president, then vice president, abuse his position by dangling a carrot and saying quid pro quo, $1 billion, or you fire that prosecutor that might be looking into my son. That's reasonable.
More importantly, these guys are cowards who come in here.
He won't call in.
Because they go here and say, you're a grifter. If I'm a grifter, then come on here and show me. But the problem is you're projecting. You're projecting. You're actually a Biden supporter through and through no matter what happens because you hate Trump. The difference is we don't love Trump. We don't hate Trump. We hold Trump accountable for when he's wrong.
Yes.
And we support him when he's right. He could shit in your mouth and you would call it a truffle. And you just demonstrated that by calling me a Trumplican and a grifter. Right. But you don't have the fucking sack to come on my show because you know I'd rip you apart. You couldn't take 30 seconds on this show and survive because you already outed that you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no clue. Go ahead, Leroy.
And I would also just add on to that, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you happen to land on. This show is about support for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's where my allegiance is, not to a party. And when I see shit like this going down, when I hear of a this for that type scenario, that's going to perk my ears up, and I want to know more. I want to know more because people should be responsible for the money of their taxpayers.
Folks, you can't call in anymore. So stop putting the number. It's the URL. You click on that. You can dial in through there. It can be on your phone. But see, the problem, this is the thing. This is why the trolls don't come on here, because they know they can't survive. They'll get destroyed. Because I know more about this, and I know more about the things against Trump than you do. And here's the fucking sad thing. The saddest thing in the world. Rachel Maddow all of a sudden could wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and be honest. And she could do a show on this. You guys would turn on her in a New York fucking minute. You wouldn't believe the best of you. The best that the Democrats have to offer could come out and do this, and you wouldn't believe it. You want to know how I know you won't? Because Bill Maher did it, you fucko. Bill Maher already talked about this corruption, and you guys didn't believe him, and you fucking turned on him.
Yep.
You want to know who else used to be fairly balanced? Joe Rogan. And you got him to turn too. Do you know who else used to be fairly balanced? Elon Musk. You want to know who else was also pretty balanced? Jordan Peterson. You are systematically turning every person who defends you against you because you guys are a bunch of piranha and fucking vultures.
You know that meme where there's a line and the dude is standing on the line, but in the meme he's already been pushed over, and it was because he was pushed over from one side that was saying, well, why are you with them? You know that meme that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I wanted to recreate that, but with Elon Musk's face, because that's exactly what's happened. We're going to talk
about that tonight.
When he was the father of Tesla and SpaceX and all of that, people loved him.
They love Trump, dude. They fucking loved Trump since 2002.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube fucking wrote songs about Donald Trump. He was in every rapper's album.
Walters. He was on The View.
Dude, fucking wait. This is worth. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton gave him fucking NAACP awards for the black community. Rainbow Coalition gave him awards annually. Folks, this is the problem with the other side. You guys are so freaking hateful.
Yeah.
I don't hate Joe Biden. I hate double standards. And if you're going to hold Trump accountable for this, you have to hold Biden accountable for this. But you don't realize that. And all of you are one freaking wake up from realizing you made the biggest mistake in the world, which is putting trust in people who only care about money, power, and votes. And Donald Trump, yes, he may only care about money. He may only care about money. That's fair. You can say that. But at least he doesn't fuck over the American population for a percentage. Can you please tell me when he's done that? You can't. Besides his NFT trading cards. Let's listen to the rest because we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
Now I have, and I think we can trust each other, the party of Arseny together with me. They were together during the voting of the general prosecutor, voting of the government, voting of the IMF, and I hope we have a significant level of support. Unfortunately, this is not fully enough. This is almost majority in the parliament. And those who goes to the United States, some oppose.
So, do you ever wonder when you hear acronyms, what do they mean?
Yes, all the time.
Does anyone know what the IMF stands for?
International Monetary Fund.
The International Monetary Fund. Would that be like our Department of Treasury, Leroy?
Pretty much like that, yeah. Why?
Then why would you be worried about the International Monetary Fund or the Secretary of Treasury when it came to corruption, unless there was a heavy amount of money involved and you either A, needed to trace that money, or B, you need to put that money into the system, and the only people who could launder that money would be the IMF.
What are you implying?
I'm saying someone didn't go to a five and dime coin op for their laundry is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Does anyone find that just to be a little bit peculiar? So let me go ahead and tell you this. Okay. So we're investigating corruption in the United States. So what we do is we interact with the FBI, who would handle corruption of this magnitude, special prosecutors, federal, and a national perspective, right? So all of a sudden, Putin calls up Trump and says, hey, Trump, I want you to go ahead and I want you to remove the FBI director, and I want you to remove the attorney general, and I want you to remove the assistant attorneys general. Sorry, it's not the attorney general, the attorneys general and the assistant attorneys general. And I want you to remove them. Okay, I can do that. Or it'd be Trump. Okay, I can do whatever however he talks. I can do that. And also, I want you to get special consideration from the Department of Treasury. So when I give you this billions of dollars, we have the Department of Treasury on our side and agreeing with the move. Does anyone want to go ahead and Sesame Street that for me? Does anyone want to tell me how that's diplomacy? How that's just good politics? Because I don't understand it. Because if that happened in the United States, Donald Trump would be in prison for the rest of his life. If somebody comes in here and wants to challenge me, let me handle this. You guys don't need to get banned. These people are completely as interesting to me as G, D, and C are to Eddie Van Halen. Okay? 3 very simple chords that everybody knows and they learned in grade school. They don't bother me. I snuff them out as quickly as they pop up, and it's the reason I do this show live. Because I love it when people come in and they don't have the courage. I just wish somebody would come in and say, hey, let's have a conversation. Let me tell you another perspective here. And I will have that dialogue. What I will not handle or condone is trolls. If you start with calling me a Trumplican or insulting Leroy or insulting my wife or calling us grifters, you're just a piece of shit. And I'm going to treat you as such. But if you want to call in and have courage and have a conversation, the phone lines are open. They're there for you.
Well, that's the stick, man. That's the only bullet that the left have in their chamber. When we talk about this kind of thing, when we talk about the division in the United States, we've talked about this before. My battle is not with Joe Biden. My battle is with the left. And Joe Biden and the AOCs of the world just so happen to be in the way. But the people on the left who are calling in and trying to attack us, you see, they can never attack the values of the right, because the values of the right are for liberty, less government, freedom, and independence. So they can't argue that point. So the only thing that they have left is to attack the people. My battle is with the values of the left, and the people that are on the left, their battle is with individuals who they don't like. That's it.
And here's your argument that you have to defend to the tough guys out there that want to go ahead and, bring this up. Here's your argument. Joe Biden paying somebody to do something and withholding money until they do what he wants is different than Donald Trump withholding money and questioning what you're doing for this money and why, when your government is corrupt, when your government is on the pathway of not getting involved with the United Nations. And why are we giving you money when that is the entire thing Donald Trump ran on? I don't want to give money to the UN. I want them to pay their fair share. I want the UN to pay their fair share. I want OPEC. I want, every single point of the World Health Organization, which he withdrew from, to pay their fair share. And why are we giving you money? Right. And then he does that. And you hit him with quid pro quo charges and never once asked for those things. The corruption that he's talking about is exactly what you're hearing right here. And the president of the United States, whether you know this or not, enforces the laws of this land. And his job is to protect our borders. And if at any point he felt that what happened and Vice President Biden did, impacts the leverage that we have against Ukraine and Europe or could be used against us and American citizens, he has the absolute right to use the attorneys general, to use the Department of Justice and open up an investigation and play strong arm with these people in order to find out what took place. And you impeached him for it. And how do I know that? Because fucking Biden's going to admit it here in just a minute. Listen in.
Timoshenko and Leshko, who do not go there, for different reasons, completely against that. Because this is the political reason. This has nothing to do with the essence of the agreement. This is just a dirty political tricks. And that's what I'm asking from the Jeffrey. Please do not give the grants to the Samopomich. Do not give them money. Because this is not a financing for the opposition party. This is the financing of the absolutely irresponsible political leader who is doing very bad things for the future of my country and for the Ukraine, for the security and for the stability. That's, I think, first of all, I am completely satisfied with the messages they received in Washington. They were quite strong and quite decisive. I think that would be a good idea if you continue to have a press on Samopomich, because if Leshko and Timoshenko, this is a loss, on Samopomich because you support them, in that situation they could give a positive response, because without Samopomich we cannot even expect any positive things on the constitutional changes.
Okay. All right. Well, look,
that would be impossible, because if I can count on me with a law, election law, I can find out the votes. Without Samopomich, I cannot find out the votes on the constitutional changes. This is very simple.
All right. We will do everything to help you to get the votes.
It's not done yet. The worst is about to be said, and this is when people are going to lose their fucking minds.
Let me ask you one thing before I forget. Privat Bank.
Someone ban Michael Kilmurray. You're not going to go ahead and just post in my channel without having the balls to come in here and face me. I'm not even going to read your shit, dude, because you're full of shit. You've already been proven to be a liar. The moment that you said that this was given and willingly by the Biden administration, you don't know what you're talking about. It was not an announcement. Actually, you're wrong.
Hopefully he's still watching, but by the time you get banned, nobody will be able to read your stuff. And here, for the next 5 minutes after this, we're just going to make fun of you. All you had to do was call in.
Yeah, he's out of here. Ban him.
Got him.
Take him out. Because you know what? I'm done with you people. I will let you have a say. People know me on this show. I don't ban people for no reason. I only ban when you spread disinformation. This was never released by the Biden administration. This was never about being transparent. This was leaked by the Ukrainian government, and the Ukrainian government denied it and said it was Russian spies and disinformation. The same things they told us in 2016. But here's the problem. I don't need to debate you. You have something much worse than making yourself look good against me. You're horribly fucking naive.
Oh, I thought you were
and you are so ideologically entrenched that you can't see the forest of the trees. At least I understand about what Trump did, and I have said many times it is quid pro quo. I actually agree with that. I don't believe he should have been impeached for it, because I think presidents have done it many times, along with vice presidents, as this whole entire phone call shows. The level of severity of a crime must be considered, not just the crime itself. And to sit here and say that Donald Trump should not look into the criminal actions of a former vice president when they went ahead and hired a British spy to go against him, when they fabricated and used FISA warrants and forged signatures and information that they knew was false in order to wiretap him and 5 of his associates and spend $47 million on a fucking investigation that showed nothing other than, yes, some of his associates, before they even knew Trump, broke the law. But using it as a dragnet is what Gestapos do. Right. It's what tyrannical governments do. And when you go looking for garbage, I promise you'll find it. But don't sit here and pretend that you're holier than thou because you're sitting here and espousing that this was given out to us. Because if it was, and Joe Biden released and confirmed the existence of this, then he would be in prison. You're just unfortunately so blatantly entrenched that it doesn't matter what Joe Biden does. And remember when Trump said I could go out and shoot someone in the streets of New York and they would still support me? The same holds true for Biden. You're one of those.
Yeah. And that's what the parties do, right? I mean, it does happen relatively minorly, we hope, on both sides. Sometimes not so minor, where you can have situations where a party is looking for a crime in somebody's background because they don't like the person. Or we can just say, hey, look, the natural course of things is to, when we find a crime, when a crime has been reported, then we investigate the crime and try to link it to a person. But that's not what the Dems do. The Dems see, oh, that's a person. We need to find the crime that they've done.
That's right.
It's
not
how
innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty.
Right.
It's guilty until I say they're not guilty anymore.
Right.
And the last thing, I don't know when Australia fell, because I have visited Australia 7 times. I have been to the north, south, east, and west. I've been to Brisbane. I've been to Perth. I've been to Sydney. I love Australia. Used to love Australia. I love rugby games in Australia, as we were Americans and we get our asses just handed to us. It was like watching the Toronto Maple Leafs in any game or any playoff series. It was horrendous. But something happened in Australia and it has turned into a bunch of socialist pricks. And I don't know, I have a Dane is from there. I have a lot of people who are from Australia. I'm not talking about you folks, but there is an element in Canada. There's an element in Australia. There's an element in Germany, which have socialist sympathizers. And what they did during COVID is absolutely tyrannical. And you better be careful, because ultimately, if you turn that country socialist, even 51%, China is going to own your ass, Australia, because they already own Canada. You saw the way that Trudeau sucked up into China during the World Economic Summit. New Zealand is the same way. And you are one step away from the largest communist country who wants to own your waters. And if they get Australia, you can kiss the Pacific goodbye. Let's finish the rest of this.
I understand the governor of the bank is tentative about setting a date certain for the transition to take place, and I'm being told secondhand that, I don't know if this is her position for sure, that she is unsure of a date until she gets an agreement from you. Here's what I've told them. I told them to get back to her and set a date, and I would talk to you about the date, because this is getting very, very close. What I don't want to have happen, I don't want Trump to get in a position where he thinks he's about to buy onto a policy where the financial system is going to collapse and he's going to be looked to pour more money into Ukraine. That's how he'll think about it before he gets sophisticated enough to know the detail. So anything you can do to push the Privat Bank to closure so that the IMF loan comes forward, I would respectfully suggest is critically important to your economic as well as physical security. I know it's difficult. I know Kolomorsky is a pain in the ass and a problem for everybody, but it really is critical that you guys figure this one out. And you've been good. You've publicly spoken out as I've asked you to do. You've done that. I just want you to give the what's she called, the commissioner, the governor, the governor of the bank, give her some spine. Let her know that you're going to be standing there when she sets a date and moves forward.
This is very important what I hear from you, and I think that on the 22nd of November, on Tuesday, I will have a final report from Ernst & Young audit, and we agreed that me, Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Governor, I invite Arseny and our security officers should meet and make a decision about the date. The only reason I have, after 22nd, when I have an audit report, We have a voting of the budget in the parliament, where Kolomoisky has a significant number of members of parliament. And the Prime Minister asked me to vote budget first and then launching the process. This is the confidential information, but
I will keep that with me. I will keep that with me.
So now you're selling state secrets from Ukraine. So he wants to avoid the oversight committee that looks over the money. Folks, the Ukrainian government doesn't know this is fucking taking place. This isn't diplomacy. This is a shakedown. This is putting money. It doesn't matter that the Senate. See, this is the guy from Australia who's a complete fucking moron who says, oh, this is all appropriations and the Senate Oversight Committee knows about this. Of course they do. They're being told it's for aid. They're being told it's for weapon systems. That's not what it's for. The money is simply for it's shakedown. That's why he has to go through back doors. That's why he has to go through the IMF. But the Secretary of Treasury, which is what that would be here, is saying, whoa, wait a second. No, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not okay with this. And the only reason Biden would be pushing to get this done before January 19th, when Donald Trump is sworn in, is because he knows Donald Trump will put a hold to it. Now, I want everyone to think really deeply. Why would Joe Biden care if this $1 billion goes to Ukraine if he's going to be out of office and he's going to be gone? Why would he care? Why would he give a shit? Is this $1 billion going to revolutionize Ukraine? Is it going to cure cancer? Is it going to give them 1 million soldiers? Is it going to give them economic freedom? No, it's $1 billion. It's nothing. Why? Does anybody want to take a guess?
Because they thought Hillary was going to get in office?
Nope. Okay. No, this was November 22nd. The election's over. They know Trump won.
Oh, okay.
So why would Biden be nervous to get this done by January 19th? Does anyone want to tell me? Leroy, what are your thoughts? Why would he personally care?
By January the 19th.
Yeah, why would he have to do it before Trump got on there? Think about it. What would be the only reason?
I'm not sure.
How about 10% for the big guy? How about 10% for the big guy? Does it make sense?
Maybe.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you have to grease palms, you got to grease Kerry's palms. You got to grease Obama's palms. You got to go ahead and get the Department of Treasury. You got to get the attorneys generals. You've got at least 20 people in the cabinet that know this is going on because they're sitting in the room. So you got to make sure that they get a little bit of money too.
You know, Matt knows this. I follow several geopolitical analysts. One of them, a guy named Peter Zehine, he correctly predicted that Russia would invade Crimea back in 2014. Correct, like 3 years before it actually happened, he said it was going to happen. And so now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, I wonder if somebody briefed the correct people in government to basically say, we think Russia will invade, right? And now is the time to start bolstering up Ukraine. If we start sending them aid, right, this can be turned political in the future, as if to say, look, we know it's going to happen. We can set the chess pieces in the correct places so that when it does, right, we send them the aid, right, and the whole thing is done as another case of quid pro quo. If we set you guys up with this, well, I'm going to want a little something for my own self.
Can I tell you why that's not true? Because Bill Clinton, pilferated nuclear arms, and Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons in Ukraine, and that was one of the deals with Russia, with a separation, is that they would give up.
I don't necessarily mean it that way. I see what you're saying.
You're not letting me finish. You can't understand what I'm saying if you don't let me finish. So when you disarm Ukraine and take away their nuclear weapons, we had an agreement to provide them funding way back in 1995, 96. We've been providing them weapons and money for the last 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
The only thing that's happening here is the $1 billion was held up until they fired the special prosecutor. That and whatever other negotiations they did. My point being is, if money is coming through Hunter Biden and he is being paid millions of dollars, and daddy is getting money kicked back from Hunter, we know that, they can pay him vicariously through Hunter Biden and his salary. And it becomes an offshore account. It becomes a dummy corporation. We saw this with China. $3 million was given to the Bidens and spread out among 9 of them. This has been going on since God was a corporal. So it's not that the $1 billion is the 800-pound gorilla. It's the fact that the Ukrainian government is filtering money through a corporation to give people who they're paying off as a shell company, or not a shell. It's not a shell company. It's a legitimate corporation,
Right.
but
I'm
using salary to clean the money. So Biden gets this done. You fire the special prosecutor who's investigating us, and we can continue like business as usual. If you don't fire the prosecutor, my son's going down, and all you fuckers are going down with me. That's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I didn't really get a chance to kind of finish my thought, but the tail end of that was
you stopped. Wait a second. You stopped.
Hold on.
But wait. Something just accused me of not letting you finish your statement. You stopped.
I was still kind of processing it.
Oh, okay. Well, then say I need a second. I'm not done.
My point was that what you just said was exactly where I was headed in terms of the Hunter Biden hook thing. The ability to keep that money flowing. Spot on. That was where I was going to say, agree with you 1,000% on that, because that's absolutely where I was.
But it's important to understand is the monies haven't just all of a sudden started coming. This has been going on for decades. You understand what I'm saying?
See, I knew about the foreign aid, but I didn't know that it had been going on past that.
Yeah, well, I mean, because ultimately you got to remember what was it, 2012, where we went into Ukraine and replaced the government and essentially did nation building and put in and installed a new government into Ukraine. CIA did that. We know that. And Obama had a huge part to play in that. But funding for them was a part of the deal to remove nuclear weapons out of Ukraine, and was the deal of the separation of Russia and the new Soviet Union. And I'm not trying to come down on you. I don't like to be accused of interrupting people, not letting them finish.
No.
I'm very patient with people. When you're done, I'm going to strike an opportunity to say something. So I guess the whole question I would have for everybody is, what are we missing here? What is it that we're seeing that everyone else isn't seeing in the media, in Republicans? And why is nobody handling this? Why is nobody taking care of this? Why do we have Mitch McConnell going to Ukraine? Why do we have Nancy Pelosi going to Ukraine? Why are congressmen, why are legislators going to Ukraine? Can anyone tell me why?
That part I'd be at a loss at.
And I don't mean to be rude. I'm just pissed, dude. I'm pissed because people have been saying shit like this, and now you finally see it and you hear it, and nobody's doing anything about it. Hold on a second. Ralph Lavallo said, pissed. Well, I think everybody should be pissed. He says, I'm all in for listening to discussion and debates like this where no BS or political vague talking points are tolerated. And that's what's caught my attention with this live feed program. I'll definitely be following the show because the host is a no BS person. I'm also a no BS kind of person where I'll jump all over someone for trying to feed me BS, which I can't stand and won't tolerate. Great job. Well, that's certainly not what Leroy's doing. Leroy and I are brothers, and we're going to disagree upon times. And I treat him and my wife and anyone else on the show with a high level of respect, and I love them, and I never ever want them to feel like I'm cutting them off. I want to give them 25 minutes, but I have the responsibility of keeping the show moving forward so people don't leave. So moments of silence are not indicative of a quality show. So if they're done, I jump in, and that's maybe my impatience at times. Overall, your thoughts on it?
You just think faster than I do.
No, I don't. I just didn't know if I thought you were done. You were done. You got that dull, useless look on your face, so I figured you were done.
I have that look all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's all right. Olivia, you've been quiet. You haven't said anything. You had a chance to listen to this on the way home. what are your thoughts on this? I know you don't know everything about it, but I want to get your opinion from an outsider looking in, from a layman's perspective. Not that you're a layman, but you're going to give us a layman's perspective because you don't know the intricacies. What do you think?
It pisses me off, and double standards and hypocrisy, and nothing's going to be done about it. And it's going to continue. And it just, it upsets me tremendously that we have to sit back and watch this and nothing can be done. And no matter what we do, nothing's going to happen. If Hillary wasn't arrested, Biden's not going to be arrested. And
that's it.
Nothing's going to happen to this.
And nothing's going to happen to Trump. And people keep saying both sides are crooked. That's fine. But you know what's funny? If you look at George Bush, is that they literally wanted to charge him with war crimes. It took the United States saying he will never be in politics again. He will never have a platform. He will not make policy. He will disappear off the face of the earth. And that's one reason why George Bush has disappeared off the face of the earth. He is one of the most least accessible presidents ever in the history of former presidents. He doesn't do interviews. He hardly is seen in the public anymore.
You're talking about Bush Jr.?
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about Bush Sr. because if he shows up, there's a real big issue. Like that means zombie apocalypse and we're all going to fucking die. So considering he's dead, but Jr. has disappeared, but they wanted to get him for war crimes. And now when you look at his presidency, people are very lenient on him. And even though the weapons of mass destruction, they blame Cheney. They blame Ashcroft. And they blame the more of the power figures behind him. Colin Powell and Susan Rice, or not Susan Rice, but Condoleezza Rice and others who were more of his daddy's friends who wanted the Gulf War and finish what they started. And that was the level of corruption with the Republicans. I haven't seen this level of corruption that people keep talking about with Donald Trump. Now, I understand about Trump U. I understand about him grifting with the NFT cards, but please tell me where he stole money from the United States. Now, people go, well, his hotels made money. Well, of course they made money. And his kids and this and it. Listen, show me the receipts.
Yeah, but that wasn't
show me the
necessarily
receipts.
That wasn't necessarily on the backs of the taxpayers. And what Matt is talking about is that it sure does seem like there's this two-tier justice system that's happening in the United States right now, where if one political party goes and does a thing, right, it largely gets overlooked if it gets reported on by the media at all. But if the exact or a similar circumstance, if the same thing happens with someone that the media does not, agree with, if they happen to be of the wrong persuasion, politically speaking, oh, well, then all of a sudden it's
color.
Oh my God, there's
or religion.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Or religion. Yeah, and that is just crazy. It should not be a two-tiered justice system. If we're going to hold everyone accountable equally, that means that when things like this happen, they need to be investigated.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got short with you. I did. I'm pissed, dude. And it's like I can't stand. I mean, like I was trying to say with Bush, look at Carter. I mean, people are apologizing for Carter. Well, it was Vietnam that did it, and it was this, and it was Iran, and blah blah blah, and it was ineffectual military leadership. All those things are true, right? Of course, those things are true. Iran put a struggle on the oil trade. It put a struggle on OPEC. It increased gas prices. Jobs were down. We had a mild recession because of Vietnam. Of course, Carter inherited a lot of his stuff. Carter's a good dude. He's not a horrible human being. He had a shitty presidency, but that is what it is. Biden hasn't had a cakewalk either. Let's be honest. Not to make excuses for him, but presidencies have their own issues. Richard Nixon was probably the best president we've had ever, minus the fact that he allowed people to work for him and lied about things that took place. But for foreign policy, he was fantastic. The economy was on rails. The military was strong. Defense, all the things we look at, the dollar, inflation, all down. Richard Nixon was a great president. Unfortunately, he didn't get the credit he deserved. And Gerald Ford was a yutz. My point is that history will have a different perspective on Donald Trump other than he was a grifter and a criminal. And they'll look at his policies. And they'll look at Biden differently and say, well, the only thing that Biden did was very similar to Obama, which is to get us back to status quo, get us back to flat. And we're certainly not there yet. And we have a long way to go. But the whole thing is it makes me nauseous. Not that Biden's not in prison or not that he's held accountable. It's that there's people out there that can't see this and go, holy shit, this is wrong.
Right.
That upsets me the most. It infuriates me. I can't swallow. I'm so pissed off that people can't see this on the other side and go, well, this is just as bad as what we said Trump did. This is absolutely wrong. Why not? Jeffrey Cheeto makes an eye-rolling mark, and he's got a little bit of rainbow and a platypus in his thing. I wonder what side he's on. Why don't you come and talk to me, Mr. Chibo, and tell me what you think? Livia's going to put in the URL. You can click on it and call in and tell us.
Is he on Facebook?
I don't know. Just put, yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, come on in and call the show. What's the eye roll for? What's frustrating you? What's upsetting you? The fact that I said we should hold Trump accountable and Biden at the same time? Is that what it is? Is it that we can only hate Trump and adore and love Biden? Is that what this is all about? Why? Is that what it is? Because I'm sorry, I want to hold them all accountable. I don't want to sit here and say, oh yeah, some are okay and some are not. This video,
the entire swamp needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
Every single politician that's currently in needs to be taken out of office, and all brand new people.
Yes.
Every Republican and Democrat, everyone.
Yeah, and when people say that, the first thing you think of when you think of Nixon is I'm not a crook, well, go look at his numbers. Go look at his foreign policy. Go look about what he did with China. I think people underestimate Nixon. He wasn't popular because he wasn't Kennedy, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a good president. He could have been LBJ. Holy shit.
You know what cracks me up about this whole thing with the tapes and the whole money? Just reading up on Hunter Biden's child support case.
Right.
And how he's refusing to pay child support, how he's trying to get the $20,000 a month down.
Right.
Saying that he's financially destitute right now and doesn't have the money.
Right. Go ask the big guy for 10%.
He's never met the little girl. And he's also denying to have her name changed to Biden so she can't cash in on the fame of the name. Just ridiculous.
Dude, I'm telling you. Nancy Jennings says, Matt, who would you love to see Biden debate live without a teleprompter? Me. Me.
Yes. I would totally pay to see that.
Because Joe Biden is a bully. And I am more of a bully than he ever could be. I would fucking destroy him 12 ways to Sunday.
Take him out behind the barn.
I know. I'd let him get his points in. And I'd say, great, but Mr. President, that's not what we're talking about. I would celebrate his success that he's had, and I've called them out, the things that he has done well. Nobody else will. Everything Biden's done is horrible. Well, that's just as bad as everything that Trump has done is horrible. I can point out the things that he's done that have been strong, and I can show you the things that he's done that are horrible. And there's more bad than good. But I won't let him debate because he'll try to bully me. And I'll just look at him and say, listen, Grandpa, anytime you want to turn off the fucking cameras and go out back, we can do that. I'll break your fucking hip and I'll roll you back in here and we can continue the conversation. Otherwise, keep it legit.
How you deal with a bully is to largely keep them on their heels with a little bit of humor. That always seems to work. Something that always struck me as odd in the last 5, 10, 15 years, that when we're talking about the size of the governments and when we're talking about what Joe Biden and Obama and all of these kind of new up and coming politicians, the AOCs and the Ilhan Omars of the world, is that when we're thinking about where the Democrat Party came from and what it is today, there was a JFK quote that said something about that an economy hampered by restrictive tax rate will never produce enough revenue to balance the budget. Just as we will never produce enough jobs. Right. And so how much further left do they need to drift before people start waking up and realizing that what's currently happening on that party, it's, how can I put this? when you start thinking about your own individual rights rather than what the government can give you,
Right.
you're going to be pushed away from that party. That's my problem.
Yeah. Well, this is a prime example of Joe Biden's policy. And like I said, I wouldn't threaten Joe Biden. Honestly, I think I would have a great conversation with Joe Biden and we wouldn't yell at all. It would be an exchange of ideas. And I know you don't agree with me, but what he is on the cameras, he's not behind the scenes. He's not that way. And he's not politically sharp anymore. And he never was, even during his heyday when he was 40 and he was plagiarizing at 28 and 29. He was never a debater. He was always a yokel.
Yeah.
So debating him wouldn't be a challenge. So I would just have a conversation with him. And I'd say, Joe, listen, just explain to me how you're worth $180 million. That's all I want to know.
Right.
Just explain it to me. Help me understand. As a man who is not worth that much, I just want to know how you made $180 million in politics on a salary of $132,000 a year.
Right.
Or $175,000 as VP, 225, whatever it is. Just tell me how.
You were talking about him being the bully, and the only interview that I can recall from the 90s, the one that really strikes my mind the most is when that reporter asked him about his academic record in college, and he went on with like 2 minutes.
Here, bud, you want to compare ACTs?
You really want to compare brain pans? I'd be happy to debate you someday.
I'd love.
And he just went on for like 2 minutes with nothing but lies.
Yeah.
And it went after it came out, like he never even said, yeah, I embellished a little bit. None of that.
He doesn't. There's never been accountability for Joe Biden.
No.
Never.
No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's pretty good.
Hayden could debate him and win.
It wouldn't be a debate. He's not a debater. He never has been. He doesn't have off teleprompter. I would just, like I said, have a conversation with him because there's things I want to know. There's things I want to listen. How could you ever forget George Wallace and Strom Thurmond to eulogize them for the way that they treated African Americans, unless you have some bias or racism towards black people yourself? How could you ever accept it? Well, let me ask you a question. If Hunter brought home a former member of the KKK to marry, would you accept her? Would you accept somebody who was a Nazi who went after Jews? Well, then why would you accept somebody who was in the... I mean, I would just have questions for him that he could not answer. You know what he would... Hey, man. Hey, bud. You work for me. All right, here's this. I'm going to let Leroy tackle this one because this is going to infuriate the shit out of him. One word. There's one word that he says that is going to just... You'll see the steep... Leroy's going to yell at me like I yelled at him earlier. Here it is.
It's disappointing that our discussions in the congressional Republicans have not been willing to discuss raising revenues, but the policy differences between the Republicans have not been willing to discuss raising revenue, but the policy differences between the parties should not stop Congress from avoiding default.
All right, Leroy, go ahead. I teed that one up.
Understand
it's okay. You don't have to. Leroy's going to
said.
explain it to you because I teed it up for Leroy. There you go, buddy. I knew you'd love that.
It was a couple of days ago. I heard on the radio while I was driving into work. I listened to all of the good talk shows, right? And somebody had mentioned, it was actually Derek Van Orden who had a Facebook post earlier, was it today, where he basically said, hey, look, the Republican Party has already passed, basically said we will concede raising the debt limit with certain stipulations. Now, that came from Derek Van Orden. Everyone who's watching, you can look this up. You can do it right now, do a search. And he basically says, look, we've already done our job, Mr. President. Now you need to do yours. And that's the thing. He is holding the economy, he is holding the government's economy hostage and saying that, no, it's the Republicans' fault because they're the ones holding the economy hostage. No, they have agreed to a mild bump, but with certain limitations. I think a 1% increase in the future kind of thing. And Joe Biden is basically saying, no, that's not good enough. I want the full meal deal. I want the full price of that Happy Meal. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to blame you guys. That's what's happening. And
that's all that upset you. I can't believe it. Did you let that go by? Did you let that slow pitch go over the plate? No, they said revenue.
I know.
They won't let us increase revenue. So what increased revenue means, folks, is raise taxes.
Taxes.
Because I'm going to go ahead. I've written a little summation of what the government, when they say create revenue, and I want you to stop me when you hear a product. Okay. I want you to stop me when you
shit.
I want you to stop me. You had your chance. I want you to stop me when you hear it. Here it is. Taxes. This is the primary source of government revenue. Governments collect taxes for individuals, businesses, and other entities. These taxes can include income tax, sales tax, property tax, corporate tax, and many, many, many others, as we know. Even double indemnity, triple, quadruple. By the time your money gets to you, you have paid taxes anywhere from 6 to 7 times on it, whether you're dead or not. How about fees and licenses? Governments can often charge fees for services they provide, such as issuing licenses and permits, processing applications, or providing access to certain resources or facilities, like state parks or fishing license. Government-owned enterprises. Some governments own and operate businesses or organizations that generate revenue. These can include state-owned companies involved in sectors like energy and telecommunications, transportation, or natural resources. But it's really robbing Peter to pay Paul, because all of those entities are government funded. So therefore, they're paying their own company and taking money from it.
Doesn't make any sense.
That's not revenue. Government-owned
Not revenue.
Investments and assets. Governments may have investments in various forms, such as stocks, bonds, real estate, or infrastructure projects. Return on these investments can contribute to government revenue, basically free stock money that you can put into stocks and trade and Wall Street, but there's no dividend if you lose from a negative standpoint, because all you would do is increase taxes again in order to make up for the deficit that you lost in the stock market. But you get to keep the profit. And certainly the United States, or any taxpayer, has never seen, we had a great stock year. Here's a rebate. How about customs and excess or excise duties? Governments collect customs duties on goods imported into the country, as well as excise duties on specific goods like alcohol, tobacco, and fuel, and firearms. And that's why we have a government agency called the ATF, to ensure that we can fund them properly, and we can always collect the money from that agency and get more revenue, known as taxes. Borrowing. Governments can borrow money by issuing bonds or taking loans from domestic or international financial institutions, and the interest earned from these loans is a source of revenue, although it comes with the obligation to repay the borrowed amount, which they never do, but they collect the dividends and the revenue known as your money. Grants and aid. Governments receive grants and foreign aid from other countries, international organizations, or philanthropic foundations, which can contribute to their revenue. The United States government doesn't make anything. The United States government doesn't sell anything. They don't manufacture anything. And the only thing that they do is they don't create jobs either. Only thing they do is spend your money and take your money. And if you lose your money, it's because the government invested poorly. That is the way it works. So when Joe Biden stands up there and says, well, they don't want to increase the revenues of the government, you fucker, it means that the Republicans don't want to raise taxes, even though you've accused them that for the last 4 quarters, saying that they want to go ahead and limit Social Security, Medicare, and raise taxes on the middle class. You fucking douchebags. Everyone get educated? Good.
To be honest, I couldn't understand. It sounded like a bunch of mumbling to me. I really couldn't understand anything.
And largely it is. Largely it is. But here's a couple of other quick, because I love it when Matt does this. He goes ahead and lists off not opinions, but actual facts. Here's another couple. The United States currently has the highest corporate tax rate in the world. In terms of the private individual, people, you work, every person watching this podcast, myself included, we work a total of about 105 days full time, right? And that's the government's take on what I earn. So they take roughly 105 days worth of my labor, and that's what I pay in taxes. So basically, I'm working for a little over 3.5 months for free for the government. Now, a brilliant economist, I read this once and it always stuck. When he's talking about raising taxes, you have to remember that when you tax something, you get less of it. When you subsidize something, you get more of it. And what are they trying to so far he has gone after oil directly, right? So nobody's really made a big stink of this lately, but oil prices are right back up to $3.80 a gallon, right? Food, eggs, all of that stuff. He talks about how inflation is a consequence
Transitory.
of higher pay. He's basically saying
it's transitory. Don't forget transitory.
Because people are making more money, that is the cause of inflation, and that's actually exactly backwards. Higher wages are the result of higher inflation, not the cause of it.
That's correct.
Man drives me nuts. I hate him.
And that is why a minimum wage is one of the biggest abortions in labor ever, and the fact that it will never be enough. It will never be enough. Stop pretending it'll be enough, because the one thing Howard Hughes said on his deathbed after he had the Spruce Goose and the Queen Mary and owned literally 66% of Manhattan and was the richest man in the world and had gold bullion that he could basically make a boat out of that would sink. And he had all the high-priced women as Mansfield and Monroe and any of the other women that he would snap his finger and he could grab them by the pussy. Howard Hughes was on his deathbed and they were doing an interview, a final interview, and they simply asked him, Mr. Hughes, you have all of those things. What could you possibly want? And as he looked up to the reporter with a sheepish grin, he simply said, more. As a person who has made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and a person who has made tens of thousands of dollars a year, I will tell you it's never enough. And when you simply make more, you spend more. And when you spend more, you want more. And that is the truth. And I am making hardly anything a year right now, and I've never been happier. I think I'm on pace to make about $52,000 this year, and I've got $1 million home. And I'm okay. And I'm happy. Because I'm not out there pushing for $200,000 a year jobs and beating my head against the wall to beat a forecast every quarter. But we've made some sound moves in our lives and smart things, and it's keeping us where we need to be until this grows to where it needs to go. And if I need to go get a job, I'll go get a job. But money does not buy happiness. It truly doesn't. It buys more shit. Mel from Canada.
How you doing, Mel?
Hi, Mel
I'm
from
doing.
Canada.
How are you, Leroy? Olivia, nice to see you. I'm so glad you're on camera now.
You got a new phone, Mel.
I do.
Yeah, I can tell it's much better camera than usually is. It's very high quality. Looks great.
I know. I finally spent a couple extra bucks and upgraded.
How did you make all that money in Canada? Did you have to get papers to buy a new phone, or did Trudeau just let you get it?
No, I had to cash in some of my RSPs and whatever, and do what I have to do to live and maintain where I am. And
did you sell your season tickets to your hockey team since you guys don't have a chance of winning the cup? Or
no, because my hockey team is the LA Kings. So
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have a chance either. So. Mel, what do you want to talk about tonight?
No, and I just wanted to talk about the taxing, because as of July the 1st, as we found out yesterday, that the Trudeau government is now going to add an extra 17 cents a liter under a new well, it's a disguise. It's called a clean whatever, something whatever's. 17 cents a liter on top of what we are now. And we're now over 60, close to 60
better?
cents, just depends where you are, which province you're in, on top of what we're paying now. So that's 17 cents as of July 1st and during the summer, whatever. So our fuel prices are going to be well over, well, close to $3 a liter come July the 1st. And it's a
That's close
disguise.
to like
There was no
$9 a
vote.
gallon for the Americans.
Exactly. Yep. So there's no votes, there's no whatever. This is this government, and this is what they do, and they're doing it more and more and more because he's so emboldened now. And until that prop up political party, the NDP in this country, decides to pull the plug, and then we can get a no confidence and whatever. Like, we're stuck with this guy till 2025. So not only have the interest rates gone through the roof, so people, as where you guys are too, nobody can buy a house, nobody can afford whatever. They're pushing this, well, you should ride your bicycle to work. They're doing the same kind of thing as you have to live 15 minutes from a city, like what that thing that is going on in the States, like making these enclaves, whatever, but it's not
Right.
they like Canada is still, other than 4 really metropolitan, or 5, I guess, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, everything else is pretty well rural. Like,
What
it's
about
still,
Edmonton? What about Edmonton?
Edmonton sucks. Oh, sorry.
Yes, it does. It's a shithole. So is
So
their
does the hockey
team.
team.
So is their hockey team.
No. Oh, well, yeah. I've despised Edmonton since I've been a wee child. Yes,
Yeah.
Edmonton sucks. Like,
Yeah.
that place should be just taken up and lifted and sent somewhere
Well,
on
when
a
your
boat.
hockey team's named the Oilers, it doesn't give much hope that there's much else in there but just oil.
Yeah.
When
Roughnecks.
I know that Mel was talking about her interest rates. You said that the interest rates went through the roof there?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
How much of that do we think might be attributable to the current demographic crisis that's happening in Canada? In other words, all of the boomers have now basically moved into full-blown retirement, and it was basically boomer money that was, when you have a lot of money in the bank, right? The banks, it's not like that money just sits there. They loan it out to other small businesses. So when all of the boomers retired, that kind of put a real hamper on the banking system, and now they don't have as much money to play with. Now we're talking about those higher interest rates. Is that a result of it, I wonder?
No, it's not, because our banking system follows kind of similar to your banking system, but they kick it up a notch. They take what Janet Yellen and your guys do on your bank interest rates, and then they just exponentially add another 0.5% on top of that. So your increases and our increases have been parallel, but ours are at least a half a point or sometimes 3/4 of a point higher. So it's getting, and so we're following, or this whatever government banking system, Bank of Canada, is following the trends in the States, but they're kicking it up a notch.
Okay.
So
I was just curious.
yeah, no, they're driving everybody out.
Could it possibly be that there's also a giant wedge between the citizenship of Canada and the government based upon at least half of the country? They're about 5 years ahead of us where it comes to the boomers retiring, yes, and there is a younger population that's increasing, but those people have been indoctrinated much longer. I love you, buddy. Good night. Have been indoctrinated much longer than the United States, about 5 years, and that the Parliament is moving towards pacifying to that generation, pacifying to those people. They're not.
No, because us boomers,
Not boomers.
just turned
the younger generation.
Yeah, well, I just turned 68, and I've tried to retire twice now. Freedom 55, then I thought, okay, Freedom 60, and then Freedom 65. So I'm on 3 whatever, and I guarantee you that the majority of the workforce that's out there right now are us, all of us, are us old people. They're 70, 72,
That
75,
that's not what I
because
said, Mel. Mel, that's not what I said. I don't think you heard me. No, I told you that there was a social disconnect between the citizenry and the government. And the older generation is obviously moving into, doesn't matter about a workforce, but what I'm talking about is being less significant to the government because of the younger generation going in. They have been indoctrinated much longer than the United States. They've been doing indoctrination about 5 years before us and was accepted because of people like Trudeau, which has changed the overall trust in government. The younger generation believes the government job is to alienate and to push out the conservative elements in Canada. And this is creating great division. This is stopping people's job growth. It's stopping spend in the economy. People are hoarding money. People are afraid of the government. And this is also creating tough times for the Canadian government, is what I was trying to say, Mel. If that's true or not, let me know.
No. Yes. No. Sorry, Matt. I missed that part or whatever.
It's
but
okay.
yeah,
It's okay. It's hard. There's a lot of good shit going on. Go ahead.
there is a lot of shit going on, and you're 100% spot on. That's exactly what it is. And Trudeau and his whatever, they're trying to drive all of us old, and they're putting us in an old folks home, basically, whatever. And they've indoctrinated all these new young kids just the same, or maybe is worse, or whatever that's going on in the States. But he's now, well, I don't think he is, but some of his now backbenchers, whatever, are starting to say is, this is not working, because
Right.
the workforce is like, your plans and policies are not getting these snowflakes that won't come out of their rooms because they might have to work 15, 20 hours a week, but want $100,000 a year wages given to them, and they have to work from home because they can't leave there, and that's been his whole thing in the last 8 years, whatever. He's fostered this generation of this group, and it's brutal. It's just, and
well, if you think
can't
just for the sake of moving forward real quick, and I want to do that, I want to pause and I want you to stay on, I want you guys to see this video real quick. And Mel, I love it when you call in, because we get a healthy dose of reality, and I'm going to bring you in over here real quick. It's hard to hear about Canada, because I absolutely, I joke with Canada. I make fun of Canada just like I do Australia, but I do have a place in my heart for one of the places I've never been in my life. I've never been to Canada, and I've always wanted to go, but not now, and I have no desire. But let me play this video real quick. This will sure to ruffle feathers, and then we're gonna pop smoke, get some yogurt, and start enjoying our weekend. This is a quick one. We don't need a lot of commentary on, but this is to show you the hypocrisy in the leftist media. The first video, Olivia's going to love this. This is Caitlin from the Trump CNN town hall, who I think is just gorgeous. I think she's pretty.
She's pretty until she opens her mouth.
Yeah,
but
annoying. It's
as
like
shit.
it's like Britney. It's like Britney Spears. I put her on mute too and just watch the video. But anyway, I want you to listen to what she says about George Soros, because Elon Musk was just recently called a anti-Semite because he said that George Soros was Magneto, who was in the X-Men, who could control all things based on metallurgy and could manipulate them. And honestly, he is one of the most powerful supervillains or superheroes, depending upon your outlook on who Magneto is, because he does definitely skirt the line sometimes. He goes after the government because he believes that the government wants to annihilate mutants, which they do. And so you're kind of sympathetic to his plight. But anyway, George Soros, Elon Musk called him Magneto. And I think it's kind of funny because George Soros has a checkered past. When he was 14 years old, obviously, he was in Nazi Germany. He was a Hungarian Jew, and not his paternal grandfather, but a man that they said was his grandfather to protect him, would go and turn Jews in and steal their property and turn over their materialistic items while he watched. He was 14 years old. And you certainly can't hold George Soros accountable for that. And a lot of people say he was a Nazi sympathizer. Well, he's like a Nazi sympathizer, like a 14-year-old boy watching his wife or his mom get beaten up by her dad is an enabler of domestic abuse. Come on, folks. Let's. George Soros is a lot of fucking things, but he's certainly not a Nazi. But he showed very little sympathy and very little contrition to that, and he could have said some things in that interview that were a little bit more sympathetic to what the Jewish people went through. His comment was, it doesn't really impact me. It doesn't really affect me, and psychologically I haven't had to seek any therapy for it, and he was just very aloof. George Soros is an asshole. And he spends billions of dollars. Now, there is one reason why he hates Donald Trump, which nobody talks about, and I'll tell you why he hates Donald Trump. Everyone sitting there and goes, oh, he hates him because he's a conservative and he's a socialist. No. He hates him because when Donald Trump took office, he lost $1 billion in stocks.
Oh.
I'll tell you why. Because he shorted the stock market. He shorted the sale, and Trump went in and the stock market fucking jumped up 1,700 points overnight and went up to like 14,000 when he was, and because he shorted the stock, which is investing for it to go down instead of go up, he lost $1 billion.
Whoops.
Nobody talks about that. It's something that I remember that article, and nobody is mentioning that. That's why he fucking hates Trump, and he wants to do whatever he can to destroy Trump. But he also hates him because he's a conservative. This is Caitlyn taking George Soros, a Democrat, CNN now hired anchor. She got hired as an anchor. So the whole Trump town hall was for them to put her out in the ether and make a name for her. And now they're putting her on in prime time. This is her comments. And remember, Elon Musk is an anti-Semite, but she is just good business.
Do with the immigration crisis.
Good morning.
And this was a while ago. I think this was 2017, but listen to it. Listen to how much has changed in such a short time.
Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country.
Okay, I did not say that George Soros was good. I'm aware that he's bought DAs. He's been doing this for years. He's also been funding Democrat candidates and putting money in Republicans candidates who could create opposition for the primary Republican candidate. This guy's a shill. He's a piece of shit. He also bought mace and tear gas and frozen water bottles and bricks for rioters in BLM. I am not defending George fucking Soros because I'm saying he's not a Nazi sympathizer. Please listen to what I'm saying. Knock it off. Here it is.
George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country. And in this data dump, one of the memos was about the refugee crisis. And they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world. They think that the refugee crisis is an opportunity to continue doing so. And they think the refugee crisis is the new normal. And George Soros is this guy who is a staunch advocate for open borders. He wants people to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. And for him, he sees this immigration policy, this crisis, as a vehicle to further his immigration agenda.
Well, that wasn't very flattering for Mr. George Soros. Wants open borders.
It's all true.
Well, of course it is. He's a progressive asshole. But it's interesting that she's, making these points. So I didn't want to make comment on that one because I want this one to be the comments that we jump on. This is just another example. Joy Reid explaining how religion is the Taliban.
Joining me now is Minnie Timaraju, president of NARAL Pro-Choice America. And that scene of women weeping and chanting shame while a man bangs the gavel and basically tells them, if you can't be quiet and let us strip you of your rights, you can get out. It felt very Taliban to me. And I bring up Taliban a lot with my poor beleaguered team. But the thing about Republicans now is that they are acting in a very Taliban-esque way. They are a religious group of extremists who definitely don't care about children. They want to control women. They want total control over women. And they are exercising that control. Let's put up the map. All across the former slave states and in states in the West that they control, while women have no power to stop them, or a few, like Trisha Cotham, join them. And then these women wake up in a state where they have no rights. What to do?
Well, No, I'll wait. Hold on. No, let the dumb bitch finish.
You know, you had a conversation with Tom just now, Tom Bonnier. You know, we know that more and more Republicans are actually with us on abortion rights, right? We just did some research with Change Research. 73% of Republicans, 3 out of 5 independents, 51% of Donald Trump supporters don't want politicians interfering in these decisions. Actually, a majority of rural white men in this research were with us. So it's wild to watch these Republicans commit this extreme overreach. What to do is we just have to keep mobilizing and getting folks turned out. You know, there was a series of elections yesterday. We've got some in the fall. We've got some next year. It's never too early for organizations like ours and our colleagues and our allies to be drawing the clear contrast and shouting from the rooftops how extreme these folks are, because we know it bears repeating. We have to keep this in the news. Appreciate your coverage. We need a lot more coverage. Yeah. And let me just read about these judges. This is what Politico wrote about them. Jennifer Walker L.
Okay. I want to challenge your stats considerably. When she says 71% of Republicans say that they don't want the government interfering with decisions in abortion, that's not accurate. What they're saying is they don't believe the government should outright ban abortion. 71% of Americans agree that an outright ban is stupid. That there are certain situations that absolutely call for abortion. Now, we should do whatever we can not to use it for birth control. But when you're talking about rape, when you're talking about incest, when you're talking about damage to the mother from a health perspective, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just telling you 71% of Americans agree that there should be some form of birth control. And most people at that 71% believe that 15 weeks is the magic number. That you should say 15 weeks and then that's it. I think it should be even less than that. If you can't get your fucking ass out of bed after a guy shoots a load in you 7 days to 10 days later and go pick up a pregnancy fucking test within 30 days, then you know what? You deserve a baby. But let's go ahead and say that it's 12 weeks. Fine. 15 weeks. Fine. I think most Republicans are willing to save 90% of the abortions out there and then try to get to a zero-sum game than trying to juggle 67 million dead right now. Let's just be honest. Now, to compare people who believe in God as Taliban,
that Christians want full control over women.
Who the fuck wants control over women? I want women out of my life as much as humanly possible.
The hell?
Unless, excuse me, I'm not done. Unless it's about sex or cooking or watching a game. But there is a certain time of the month that I want you out of my life. I want you to let me sit in my basement, leave me alone, don't eat me, don't rip my head off and feed it to yourself and your younglings. Just leave me alone. 3 weeks out of the month, I'm fine. Would love to open this up for discussion. Go ahead.
Holy crap.
I don't want control. I don't want control. What?
I didn't say like holy shit to you. I was saying holy shit to her. I mean,
no, I'm just being honest. I mean, anybody, any woman. I don't want to get in your. I don't want to be. Are you kidding me? Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you want to be involved in every single aspect of men's life and their existence?
No.
Do you have your own identity?
Yes.
Do you need me to justify your identity?
No.
Well, then I don't need you to justify mine. And I love you and I'll die for you and I'll kill for you and I will hunt for you and gather for you and protect you. But I don't want to control you and I have no desire to control you.
Except when you're menstruating.
Yeah, when you're menstruating, just get the fuck away from me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to
Have you ever
throw raw meat in the room and you lock yourself up and come out after a week and all is good.
Just give me some chocolate and I'll be fine.
All right, Leroy, go ahead. You're going to say something. Let's let the men go first. Women, can you just be quiet for a minute? Go ahead, Leroy.
Have you ever noticed that the main argument from the left, whenever you talk about abortion, is that they try to bring up a bunch of anti-religious talking points.
Right.
It never seems to be. It never seems to be about, if you really wanted to be able to claim yourself as an American and understand the Declaration of Independence, there's a line in there about an unalienable right to life, right? And so we start talking about that. That right to life has to start somewhere.
Right.
right? And anything after the moment of conception, in terms of what the left thinks, anything after the conception is on the table. They think, well, it's a life. We know it's alive. We get it. But we still think you should be able to kill it.
And why do you get to invoke God when it's convenient for you?
And what the Republicans are basically saying is that if it doesn't exist at the moment of conception, then it doesn't exist at all.
That's right. And we should be able to smother it. Like Olivia, for what I said tonight, should be able to put a pillow over me and say, hey, it's a retroactive abortion.
And every time
Mel was way too excited about that.
I'm almost done, I swear to God. And every time
I thought you were done. Sorry, go ahead.
You're going to have...
No, he's not done.
Oh, excuse me.
This is what he does. He ends on a climax and then he wants to keep going versus building up. He's not me. I go and then I just drop the bomb. He like taps the hammer, then fucking pretends to whack it and then fucking no, and then fucking and then he hits it and then he's like, now I'm done. Go ahead, Leroy.
I know, and I'm sorry that I'm like that.
I love it. Go ahead.
Every time I hear that, though, the religious talking point, it makes me want to immediately react with the more conservative talking point, which was about Margaret Sanger, right? There was a letter penned in 1939 from Margaret Sanger herself, who said that we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Now, I didn't say that. Margaret Sanger, the person who invented Planned Parenthood,
Eugenics. The systematic. Are you done now? Are you done?
Yes, now I'm done.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was just really careful. The systematic annihilation of the black population through eugenics. They did the same thing to Native Americans. Real quick, I'm going to read this off. Stacey Hastings has a great point. Stacey says, what happened to men staying out of abortion? They were screaming that men didn't have a day. And now all of a sudden, since they claim men can have babies, so now they have a say? These people. Well, I certainly agree with the left, but I think men have always had a say and should have always had a say in abortion. But ultimately, it was up to the woman, and it was her choice. But I think where the erosion of the nuclear family began is when people stopped having conversations and utilizing their partners to have open discussions about major life-changing decisions. When women said, oh, well, I want to work, so therefore I don't need to ask my man if I should work. Or a man says, well, I'm not happy with that vagina, so I'm going to go out and bang 10 secretaries without having a conversation with his wife and saying, I'm not happy. The erosion of the family stopped when conversation stopped between men and women. And this has been the overall moral decay when it comes to the patriarch and the matriarch by utilizing, trivializing religion, trivializing the nuclear family and the family union and family values and making it more of a religious ideology than a quality of life or natural existence that we have all had. I mean, can you imagine if the animal kingdom didn't work cooperatively compared together?
Right.
What if both father and mother went out hunting without having a conversation? They would return to, a foal of dead cubs or whatever. In a hunter-gatherer sense, men procreate and men protect and men hunt. And in the natural order of things, women have children and are the matriarchs, and in most cases in the animal kingdom, protectors just as much as the father. The moment we created lines of delineation between men and women and what they could and couldn't do and denied that those lines of delineation exist is when we have no separation and we have a level of ignorance and a false benevolence when it comes to who we are as people. And I think it's a detriment to our society. That's my long answer to your fairly accurate statement. Mel?
I find it hard to digest the Joy Reids and the Whoopies and all the whatever. This selective decision of what women's rights are, and then they don't have those rights when it comes to certain whatever. Like, the hypocrisy and the delineation, they only use it for their own certain talking points. All of a sudden you become a woman when the abortion topic comes up, but all of a sudden women don't exist in the rest of the world when it comes to sports and blah whatever.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's where I find that this narrative that's coming from the other side and these Taliban whatever, I'm like, no. So the it's hypocrisy. It's just it's selective what they want to call a woman in whatever certain talking point or argument that they want to use. Otherwise, the word woman, us, is like, you're out of there. You don't exist. You don't have any rights. You don't have any whatever. And they took all of those rights away. So, in one little tiny aspect, all of a sudden, it's a woman when it comes to abortion, whatever. But for all the rest of the women issues, you don't exist. You have rights, no say, no whatever, accept it. Yeah. A guy wear a bathing suit.
That's the misnomer, is when she says, oh, well, they're just waking up with no rights. Give me a fucking break. You're waking up with no rights. You know, why don't you register for the draft? Okay.
Yep.
Why don't you go do that for me? And then the government won't be able to tell me what to do with my body anymore. Why don't you go in my stead? Why don't we do a lottery where every woman will have to draw a fucking card to take over a man's responsibility to die in the fucking draft, and then you can suck me sideways. I'm sick and tired of hearing about women's rights to murder. You have no right to murder. Now, you don't have to care. You can go ahead and kill as many babies as you want and not believe in God. And then if that day comes, you're fucked. And if that day doesn't come, you'll never know it. And I'll never know it. And you know what? But I'd at least hedge my bets, sister. But there is a right to sanctity of life that child has a God-given and a natural and law-abiding right to live. And that is absolutely fundamental to our existence as human beings, and has been that way since the dawn of time, since we've either come out of the primordial soup or we walked out covering our genitalia with fig leaves. Okay. So to sit here and pretend that it's not, just because it's inconvenient for you, doesn't make you righteous. Olivia, your turn. Olivia's turn.
And that's
no, Mel. Livia's turn. No, Mel. Livia's turn.
Mel can
No,
finish.
no, Mel. Oh, go ahead, Mel. I'm kidding. Go ahead. You're fine.
All I'm saying is, instead of all these supposed health education classes that are teaching 9,000
Someone banned Simon all about Bob. Sorry, go ahead, Mel.
How about teaching back the birds and the bees, going, if you do this, this is what happens, and you have a decision and a choice in this, and you can stop this if you do this, this, and this. We had that back in the day. They told you how to prevent all of this shit. So this excuse and to use abortion as that's what I call their new version of birth control. I call horseshit. Like, this has just gone way too far to the, I don't know.
Before Olivia goes, Benjamin makes a comment. They will be forgiven. We will have the opportunity to be forgiven. Don't forget that. Wait a second. Stop. You're not God. You don't get to say that unless they ask for forgiveness, and they also have to have contrition. It has to be true. It has to be authentic, and they have to believe. And in one hand, if they're saying God doesn't exist in order to justify that murder, no, God will not forgive them. I disagree, because those babies are innocent. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They are the meek. They will inherit. And no, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. God will. I first of all, you can't. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying you can't say that because you are not God, and you don't know what He will do, and no man does. Livia, no offense, Benjamin. I'm not coming down on you. I'm just telling you I disagree. That's all. With love. I like your avatar. It's kind of cool. It looks like I don't know who's that Western singer, old school. Always wore.
Chris Ledoux.
Now got old. Like, used to wear the white and the cowboy hats and the tassels. Gene Autry. There you go. All right, go ahead.
Oh.
Olivia.
Oh, yeah, it does look like him.
Will you go?
I was just gonna say I agree, but what I was gonna say, she looks like Lexi. Stacy did.
Who?
Stacy, the girl who made the comment. You put up her picture. I was just
Holy
trying to
shit.
say she
Lexi,
looked like
who's Lexi?
from Texas.
Oh, that Lexi?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
She
know.
looked just like her. She reminded me
Did
of
she?
her.
Well, thanks for that. She's not the best color commentary person in the business for nothing, folks.
But I also had a comment, but you wouldn't let me finish.
What do you mean I wouldn't let you finish?
When you said I want to put a pillow over your head.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you're going to get it back tomorrow because, you're going to have 13-year-olds here spending the night here. So it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow.
I'm going to be in bed with 10, 13-year-olds.
I said, yeah.
Are you trying to get me banned from this
I
channel?
didn't say you're going to be in bed with
Well,
them.
why would they have pillows if I wasn't in bed?
I didn't say they were going to put it. Never mind.
I'm very, very scared.
Never mind.
First of all, I'm not going to be here tomorrow because that sounds horrible. No, we do.
Yeah.
We have how many are spending the night tomorrow?
There's going to be a total of 11, including Hayden, but like 3 of them can't spend the night.
Fuck.
So it's going to be like
that. I'm going to Leroy's.
I was going to say,
I'll have a bourbon ready for you, man.
Yeah, Hayden's
get a
13th birthday is Monday, so we're letting her have a sleepover with
Yeah.
all our friends tomorrow night.
13 years old. It'll be interesting. It's fun. I get along with all of our friends. All right, folks, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Mel, you get 1 minute, and you get 1 minute only, and then I'm punting you.
Remember, everyone deployed.
Yeah, Red Friday, folks. Red Friday. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Red Friday.
It's Red Friday, RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. The movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to dumbshow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
Oh, I love that. Mel, thank you for the Red Friday remembrance. We've actually sold quite a few Red Friday shirts today, so I was kind of excited about that. It's good to see people get their red on. Mel, anything else for us from Canada?
No. Just have a safe weekend. It's a long weekend here. It's Victoria Day, so we have an extra day off on Monday. So God bless all of you guys. Stay safe. Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, all of you. Love you.
What do you think about Austin Matthews possibly going to the Avalanche?
I think that's a great move.
Yeah, dude. Listen. There's rumors like
I read that he is doing everything he can to stay.
that he is, but you know what? There's rumors that Connor McDavid wants to come down and he wants someone to offer. I mean, the Avs got $21 million in cap space. They're going to have to get rid of quite a few players for a McDavid.
We got to fill Landy's spot.
You're not gonna do that. I think they're probably gonna go with like Shane Monahan from the Montreal, maybe Drouin, him and McCann. No, those guys are good second line players. We have the top 2 lines. What we need is 3 and 4. We need to get some depth players. Drouin's a great player. Monahan can actually play well on the 3rd or 4th line, and then it looks like Cogliano is going to come back, so he'll be all right. All right,
good.
All right, go
Thank
Canada. By the way, Arizona's moving out of Arizona, so no more Phoenix Coyotes.
Arizona's moving out of Arizona.
Yeah, well, Arizona Coyotes, sorry, Phoenix Coyotes, whatever the fuck they're called. They're leaving, and everyone's like, put them in Canada. I'm like, why would they want to waste a team? Anyway, Leroy, 1 minute, buddy. Thanks. Hey, thanks for tonight. Your perspective was huge tonight. I love your contributions, and good to have you here. Yep. Sorry I was short with you earlier.
Dude, water off a duck's asshole.
I know, buddy, but you don't deserve that. You don't need me to get all pissy. I was fired up though. Troll got me mad.
For my minute, I would just re-foot stomp the fact that Matt was so angry with Joe Biden, and we all should be. We all should be. When we're talking about the hypocrisy that was happening there, that is the classic definition. That is the textbook definition of projection. Projection is when you claim the other guy is doing something that you are in fact doing. And here it turns out that, we have it on audio that's actually what was happening. That should piss everybody off. And you should like, share, and subscribe this. Get it out. Make sure that people hear that. If we do that and we, keep banging away at this battle, I think we'll we'll make some progress. You know, if the nation ever woke up to the fact that their freedoms are a result of their rights, there would be far less Dems and far more Republicans. So
ain't that
that's
the
my
truth?
minute.
And listen, we had 100 and almost 200 people on tonight, so that's good for a Friday. And obviously, you know, doing these more controversial topics and taking risk. I want to tell you guys something that you should know is Facebook just openly promoted my video earlier about Joe Biden and did not shut it down.
Really?
They actually allowed it to be boosted. So Facebook is allowing me, and I think they're trusting me enough to know that I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to bullshit, that I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to be tough, but I'm not going to spread misinformation, because the fact that they boosted that post and they're banning people for posting that audio is pretty impressive. So either I've gotten to a place where they're treating me like Ben Shapiro and the Daily Caller and others, where they can pretty much say anything they want. I've felt that way for quite a while, so it feels really good. So I appreciate everyone being on. Olivia, did you have anything you wanted to bring?
Well, several people have asked about Ethan's game.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
So, yes, they won. So they're still undefeated. They only have 2 more games left in the season. And I think one of them is against the team they tied against. So I think that's Monday.
What about that team?
Was it Tigers?
No, what did you just say? You say it again, repeat it.
I said that one of the games is against the team that they tied.
Right.
Which I think was the Tigers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
but,
I think that's Monday.
We're a completely different team. Ethan absolutely effing crushed the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He is the hardest hitter on the team by far. There's guys that line drive and it rolls, but he hit one again over right field's head. And this is high school. There's 200 feet, these walls. These walls are 200 feet away. That's high school level ball. And he fucking hit it like 160 feet. Yeah, and he's 10 years old.
He got on base all 3 times. He had really good at bats. He drew a couple of walks because, I mean, he did swing and he waited for him. So he's doing really well.
Yeah, 2 walks and then crushed it. Just crushed it to right field. And should have had a double from it, but he slowed
hesitated.
down. He hesitated, but he's got to understand. I mean, he's not dealing with like Kyle Tucker in right field.
Yeah, he had a little bit of he needs to work on some of his defensive stuff. But
yeah, but it's not really him. That throw was shit to him. So here's the other thing. So we've been really enjoying the baseball with the kids. It's been fun. It's been enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you, Leroy. Thank you, Olivia, for being on. I think this weekend we're going to do a show. Oh, ammonium nitrate. I didn't get to that. Okay, so let me do that quickly. There was a train coming from California into Wyoming. It had 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate on it. It went missing. Now, the physical train we have more clarification, did not go missing. What happened was it was in liquid form is what they said. It was not in pellet form. So pellet form basically turns it into an explosive. You put it in a barrel, you get a detonation device, and boom. Ammonium nitrate needs to be processed. So, and honestly, the process to turning it into pellet form is not that difficult. However, that volume certainly would be. But the rail station is what they're saying is that it was a trip that took 2 weeks. And it slowly had a valve leak. But all the valves were checked underneath, on top, all around before it left. And when it went into the station, they didn't. Out? Hold on. And when it went into the station, nobody found a leak. So what they're saying is it was a slow leak over 2 weeks that spilt out over the trip of 2 weeks. But here's the problem: every time you go into a different state on a railway, you are weighed and you are measured, and seals are checked on all of those boxcars, and that you are carrying the amount of material that you have disclosed on the manifest.
Huh.
And if that had gone from California to Arizona, Arizona to Utah, Utah to Colorado, Colorado to Wyoming, which is probably what it took, you're talking 5 states, you would have noticed 60,000 pound differential on the weight of that train. You would have noticed 20,000 pounds if you would assume over 2 weeks. So what I'm saying is that nobody caught it. they're assuming that's what took place. They're not saying that's what took place. And let me ask a question. If at one point that valve was tapped and 10,000 pounds was taken, doesn't that make somebody concerned? Considering that with the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City bombing, under 5,000 pounds is what blew up, the 3 or 4 stories of that building and took out almost 60% of it. Imagine what 10,000 pounds would do. To me, it sends up a red flag.
It was taken Breaking Bad style.
Well, that was my first thing, was Walter White and, siphoning. But even, okay, so yes, okay, fine. So it leaked, if that's what they're saying. There is no formal report that it leaked. That's what they're assuming happened. So that's very different. So I'm going to stay on top of this. But even if it was negligence and a seal broke and nobody caught it, that's just as fucking concerning as not knowing where it's at, because you still don't know where it's at. You still don't know what happened to it.
Both could be true as well. Meaning that somebody could have siphoned off, 30,000 gallons and then not shut the valve all the way, so that by the time it got there, the train company would just assume, oh my God, it was open this whole time. And in the meantime, there's some joker out there with, 30,000 pounds of the stuff. So,
or just imagine if what if it wasn't loaded on the train to begin with?
That's what somebody just said.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, my thought was, how do we know it's even on the train to begin with? How do you know it wasn't taken and put into a refueling tank? There's a lot of things we don't know. I mean, the first thing that I would do, yes, an ammonium nitrate stinks like shit. Absolute shit. It smells like cat piss. It basically smells like methamphetamine. And it smells like sulfur and cat piss. Yeah. Those two smells, well, it's nitrates, which is essentially shit, and fertilizer, and ammonia, which is cat piss. You put them together, you get ammonium nitrate. It stinks to high heaven. And if it was spilling out of a train at that rapid rate, you would know and you would smell it. You would see it at the weigh station. You would smell it emanating the moment it pulled in, and somebody would say, hey, we have a noxious leak here.
And I guarantee those tracks go through residential areas.
They go through weigh stations. They have to. They go through, and those trains go over weigh scales, and then they have to have the manifest checked, and then they have to open up the cab cars, and you have to check. I mean, it's standard operating procedure. To say that, okay, it's a slow leak, fine, but at least someone, if it's enough of a leak to be a slow leak, anything more than drip, 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 well, that's not going to be 2 weeks to empty fucking 60,000 gallons. So it has to at least be a cat piss or a cow pissing on a flat rock. And if it is, then you can smell it. You can see it. So there's questions that I have, but I'm just telling you, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, Leroy, but if you take all these things that we see with this, Patriot Front, white supremacist group, and all these everyone talking about white supremacists, you know exactly where I'm going with this. The one thing that's going to keep Joe Biden in office is war. I have said it all along. Or what's the other thing I said? A major cataclysmic event nationally that brings the country together. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'll tell you what, shit like this scares me when you're missing that much explosive. That's weird. Scares me a little bit, dude. I mean, come on, man. Tell me you haven't seen enough and know enough about other countries to know.
Oh, no. I
you know right where I was going, right?
I get it. Yeah.
Especially with this white nationalist narrative. Because if you say that the white nationalists are the biggest threat to this country and our democracy, well, then the only thing you can do is make sure that that's true. Otherwise, it's going to fall on deaf ears after a long enough timeline. So,
well, and to your point, remember when we were talking about projecting, when somebody says that they are that the other guy is doing something and that you yourself is doing, well, here's a perfect scenario where you can make that happen for real, and then you set the stage for a landslide in a re-election. Yeah.
Well, and I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm not saying the government's going to run a false flag operation. What I'm trying to tell you is this. Well, you can't say that they wouldn't, because after the 14,000 documents were released on Kennedy, they've now laid it at the CIA's foot. And I've read them all, and I'm telling you, the CIA did it. So in no uncertain terms, it lays it at the CIA's front door. I'm not saying that the U.S. government, they've done this in other countries. We know this. Leroy knows this. I'm not saying that they couldn't run a false flag in the United States. What I'm trying to tell you is that if they're saying that white supremacists are the end all be all and the most dangerous thing to U.S. democracy, then what they're trying to say is that they have reason to believe that. So either A or B is true. A, that white supremacist groups are planning a major attack in the United States and they are privy to this and they are warning now that those are the rumblings and where they're seeing it going. Or B, there will be a major white supremacist attack and blamed at their front door. So one of those two things hold true, because you can't keep saying this and nothing happening. You can't keep saying that white supremacists are the biggest threat to the United States with no actual repercussion or event that takes place, because it's going to fall on deaf ears. My point is, A, it's going to happen and they're worried, or B, it's going to happen and they're not worried. And both of those things are equally concerning.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Am I turning into a conspiracy theorist, Leroy?
God, I hope not.
I don't think so, buddy. All right, Leroy, love you. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Olivia, you too.
Love you guys. You dummies
Bye,
take care of
Leroy.
yourselves.
See you, buddy. Thanks for
Bye.
being on tonight. Olivia and I will be where'd she go?
Who, me?
Yeah, I lost your thingy. Hold on. I'm going to put you on. Where are you? There.
I barely got to put up any ads today.
That's okay. We're going to be on this weekend. We're going to do a quick show. It's going to be a very busy weekend. We've got
Busy week.
but we still got to get on a show. Now, next week, tell them what's going on next week so everybody knows, so they're aware.
So next week, so we got the slumber party tomorrow. Next week, Monday.
Just, honey, just tell them what time we're going to be on.
Oh, it's going to be late every day. Because
Okay, you got to tell them what days.
Monday is Ethan has a game.
They
and
don't
it's his
care. They just want to know
birthday.
what time, honey.
It's probably going to be like 9 every night.
Okay, so
8:39.
Monday will be 9. Wednesday will be...
If we go on a Monday, because it's Hayden's
Monday will
birthday.
be...
I don't know.
Monday will be...
I don't know.
What do you mean? What is it depending on?
Well, it's Hayden's birthday. I don't know if I want to go on Hayden's birthday.
Okay, but Hayden's not going to want to do anything with us. It's Monday. It's school.
That's a good point.
She's going to be in bed. So we'll be on at 9 on Monday. Wednesday?
Wednesday will probably be 9.
Be 9 on Wednesday.
And
Friday.
probably be 9, 8:39 as well.
Okay. So no, you don't care, because we'll be here for another hour and I want to go eat my frozen yogurt and enjoy some hockey. So no, we don't care that you care. We don't care. Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be on at 9. I'll make sure I announce that. We're going to do a little show this weekend. Olivia and I are going to try to do a recorded show together. And I think it would be very, very cool to kind of get both of our perspectives in a screen like this and sharing notes, and she can chime in and it'll be fun. We're going to do more of like a news Dan Bongino thing where Dan does the talking and his guy kind of talks in the background. I think that's what we're going to try to do and get that done. So Olivia, say good night.
Night, y'all.
And we are going to go out with PFC and then go with Veteran Crisis Hotline. Here we go. Purcellville Flag Company, folks. They make the wooden flags behind Olivia and myself. They are a wooden flag company. They are the best wooden flag company. Check them out, please, if you would. And stop on by at pfcflags.com and get yourself a flag. Good night. God bless, and take care of veterans listening to this message. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go over to thedumbshow.com. Pick up a shirt, hat, coffee, whatever else you want. 10% goes back to veterans and Travis Manion Foundation. And you can save 10% by using the code DUM10, DUM10, on all shirts, hats, and everything else. Good night.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important, you are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call.
Hey, before we go, I just wanted to thank everybody for who came on tonight. I see a lot of new faces. Elizabeth, a few of other people came out and said, hey, never watched the show before. It's my first time. So thank you for watching the show. We appreciate it. Thanks for following us. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. God bless. We'll see you guys tomorrow. with a new cut show, and we will see you later. Good night. Say good night, Hayden.
Good night.